Oh boy. Dude. Oh. Uh-oh. Where's Sib?
I am here.
Oh,
Oh,
you're not sure. You're not sure. Where is it? Is it this one? There you are.
my thing is not here. Okay, alrighty.
Don't worry, I got you. Hello, everybody.
There we go.
Good evening, everyone. Hello. Hello, Scythe. Hello, Kisuke. Welcome in.
Hello, hello, hello.
I was just telling Sib. Hi, nephew. I was just telling Sib that literally we were like, okay, so we weren't able to do stream last week, so we'll just rehash
Yeah.
the stories that we didn't do last week, and then more news starts coming out. So it's just news upon news upon news.
It has been wild, like last few days. Like
Oh,
just wild. Well,
so
like the last 2 weeks have been insane, obviously.
oh
Like
yeah,
everywhere.
oh yeah,
So if
yeah.
you are in the in California, you've got my like obviously like I feel terrible for you. So
Yeah, hopefully, yeah. I can't believe how bad it's gotten. I
yeah.
I can only I can only hope that it gets slightly better from because it's just terrible.
Hmm.
But there's definitely obviously there's like definitely different organizations out there trying to help everyone as much as they can, and like the was it the emergency services,
Hmm.
they worked hard trying doing the best that they can. And yeah, always appreciate the emergency services. They when disasters happen, they always come in clutch.
Hmm. Now there's been some like so my uncle was a firefighter, pretty famous in my neck of the woods, um, and I will say that there's definitely been some mismanagement from the governmental side, um, and and that always sucks when that happens, and you kind of cross your fingers and hope that that situation gets worked out because nobody wants a poorly managed fire department, ambulance, or police service. And it's easy to have those things be mismanaged because humans are incredibly flawed creatures and we can make some really terrible decisions from time to time for sure.
Yeah.
So fingers crossed that everything gets okay, and we're yeah, very sorry obviously for anybody who's suffering under this kind of stuff. So yeah, but we have a ton of game news to catch up on, so we're going to try to do that.
All right. For just to get it a little bit out of the way, I was gonna want to talk about because like some of the topics are gonna get pretty heated. I feel like so.
Hmm.
Let's start with a
Hmm.
little bit of lighter topic. Uh, the Blood of Dawnwalker trailer and a little bit, tiny bit of gameplay was released. And oh my god, it looks so good. I am already fangirling so hard over the vampires. I can only I'll let you guess which vampire I'm really fangirling over. But
I know this one. It's the busty female one, right?
no, it's the guy who looks like Nosferatu. Come on. Come on. Come on,
Sorry.
Scythe.
Sorry, of course. What was I thinking? Oh my goodness, I can't believe I made an obvious blunder like that.
Don't you know Nosferatu's back in vogue now?
Uh-huh, uh-huh, uh-huh.
Oh, speaking of Nosferatu, that new Nosferatu movie by that director something Eggers is really good. Is so good. I love that movie. It's so good.
Yeah. I I haven't seen it yet, but yeah,
Oh,
looks good.
okay. So what the developer said that that trailer was like the opening cutscene of the game. So like you meet the protagonist, you meet the vampires, and then you get a little bit of gameplay, and it says alpha in game, you know, scenes. And I was like, it's an alpha, meaning that release earlier than we're expecting. And I'm
Yeah.
excited for that. I'm so excited for that. Now, if only Exodus also says that it's in alpha, and then we can all get excited for the new RPGs coming out uh, around this year or sometime next year. I'm so excited. And yeah, what did Kisuke say? He said, yeah, more vampire games. Yeah, just it's been a really long time since a good vampire game came out. And some people said that Vampire or Vampire, however you pronounce it, by Don't Nod was a
Hmm.
good vampire game. I played that game. It was not a good vampire game. I mean, yeah, you play as a vampire, but I wouldn't say it was like a good RPG vampire game. Like the story, like halfway towards the end of the game, started to like fall apart. It didn't really make a lot of sense to me, and it wasn't as compelling as the first half of the game. The first half of the game was so compelling. It was such a good. It felt like it actually captured like a gritty, uh, Victorian. Was it Victorian or is the early 1900s London? And it was very gritty, very dour, and I freaking loved it. But then like the ending of the game did like the story just wasn't as good as the beginning. So personally, I didn't like it. I didn't think it was a good vampire game. Some people liked it. I didn't really like it. The only thing I can agree was probably a good vampire game besides Vampire was Bloodlines, Vampire. Oh God, Vampire the Masquerade Bloodlines. Sorry, I'm trying to remember the title. It's so freaking long. And then they're coming out with Vampire the Masquerade Bloodlines 2, and
That's sometime in the next 50 years.
yeah, they're still working on it, and they're still like pumping out content for it, but it's been in development hell for like a really long time. So people
It
are
was
not.
supposed to release before Cyberpunk was supposed to release.
Oh no,
So
that's
it was
bad.
like we are years behind now. And I like how do you get to the point where I think that at one point they were 3 months away from release? I don't know how you go from that to like, oh, hold on, this is really bad. We're gonna have to fix this, and then they pull it back to work on it for another 4 years. It's like what was wrong? Like how badly had you messed that up?
It,
Like
from what I understand, there was a lot of background drama going on about like
yeah,
some.
well, and that's the thing is like because we don't know precisely what's going on. It's like because there's a couple ways to look at it. It's like was just the vision wrong, or was it like really terrible, boring gameplay, or was there's just so many bugs that they hit like a critical wall of bugs, and there was just no way to finish the game as is with all these bugs in it, or was it one of these scenarios that we're seeing a lot now where and this is so old that it could have been like, hey, yeah, so this game doesn't meet our DEI standards or the standards of like it's too pretty, it's too sexy, it's too whatever, and we've got to go in and we've got to strip it out, and then they do that for a few years, and then they're coming up onto the release again, and they're like, oh wait, this stuff is wildly unpopular after they see what happens with Concord and all of the others, and then they're like, okay, undo everything, undo everything, undo everything. It's like, which of those things was happening, or was it all of them, or was it like was it just something else? Like was there issues with the one of the things that I think was a good idea, like of like probably causing potential problems, was there just licensing issues, and everybody forgets how licensing issues can literally just destroy entire games and IPs and stuff like that. So it's
Well,
like,
if it was an issue, then why were they making the game in the first place? I thought they would.
well, exactly, right, because
Oh,
you'd
you
think
know
that
what I
they would
think?
fix that.
You know what I think it was? I think they had like they had permission to work on the license for a certain amount of time, and they
Yeah,
didn't complete the game within that time. And
until
so,
until that time zone, yeah.
yeah.
So So it's all up in the air. We don't know where it is. I've tried to reach out, but I haven't been able to get a sense of like what's going on. Because and I'm not alone in that. Everybody in the industry who reports on games has no idea what's going on with this game. Like they just don't know. Like was it a terrible mess that they couldn't fix before or afterwards? Nobody knows. So it's like oh my goodness. There's yeah, there's all kinds of like questions and nobody knows the truth. I don't think anybody really knows the truth. I don't even think the last devs know exactly like what's going on because again, like nobody's talking about this at all. So this is one of the greatest big mysteries of the last like few years, and I'm really curious to kind of see like if this game ever gets released at this point and what's kind of come of everything. Hopefully they're learning lessons from the industry right now and not willing to like try something even more stupid to try and like push it out the door. So at this point it's like
Mm.
I hope they just take whatever they need to back to the drawing board. Obviously this was like a year or two ago, and they just start rebuilding properly from there. So fingers crossed. I hope it's good. I really do, because there's a lot of fans, and the last game kind of got screwed over because of its time release window, and so it would really hurt if this game also had that problem where it's like it comes out, it's actually really good, but because of just the poor timing and advertising and whatnot, it doesn't get the player interest that it should have. And we need a good vampire game out, because there was a vampire game that released a couple of weeks ago, and I would say that it's one of the best vampire games probably in the last like decade or more,
What's it called?
honestly. Well, that's where it's kind of funny. I can't talk about that. So,
Oh, what?
yeah, no, I can't mention the name of this game. So I'm going to encourage everybody to, if you're really digging vampire games, whisper DM me or Reaver on Discord later after the show, and we will link it to you, and I'll
Oh,
link it to you
I
after
want
the
to know
show.
what the game is. I want to
I'm
know.
gonna yeah I'm gonna show you, but I'm gonna show you after we go off stream.
Oh,
So,
okay, okay.
but yeah, this is like I was looking at it today and I was like, oh my goodness, this game is literally like better than most other games in its category that have released for the past few months. And I'm just like, this is crazy, and it has a very positive review score.
Huh.
I'm utterly shocked. And when you see it, you're gonna be shocked and you're gonna freak out a little bit. Because not only is it this, it's also under $10.
What?
I know, this is wild. It's absolutely insane. And so yeah, yeah, whisper us on the Discord. That's going to be the secret bonus for today. You know when they
Ew.
used to do secret bonuses or secret questions in Saturday morning cartoons? Yes, in the 80s. I yeah, in the 80s. Oh dear. It's terrible. It's really
uh,
sad. Anyways.
Kisuke made some good points. He said they fired the development team and got a new one. There
Yeah.
was talk about DEI stuff back before the dev team got fired, and they used the name of one of the devs from the first game and then threw his work away.
Yeah.
Oh, wow, that's actually kind of messed up. That's actually pretty messed up.
Yeah, yeah. And that is really messed up. And this, like I said, this whole situation is just crazy wild. So yeah, it's interesting. And again,
Honestly, yeah, I've
I
heard.
hope that we do get something good out of this.
I don't know. Usually when game, okay, so I have some thoughts. I've heard some of the drama that's going on behind the scenes before they went totally quiet. There was some drama that leaked about internal
Hmm.
conflicts between creatives. Uh, and oh crap, I was gonna make another point, but I forgot what the other one was. But
Well, and what I would say
oh
with
right,
that is
is
take all of that stuff with a grain of salt, because we have no idea if any of it's true at all.
true. That is true. But the one thing I know for sure is that whenever a game is in a long term development, it is very rarely released as a as like a total masterpiece.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah, there's a very I don't think that's I don't think there's a game, I can't think of one off the top of my head, that goes more than 2 years into development hell that then comes out as a good game at release. I think one of the best examples of this is probably Cyberpunk, where it was over almost like it was over 2 years before they managed to crawl that game back into, high quality. So that probably like yeah, it's that's definitely I would say it's definitely one of that's definitely an issue, right? Obviously. So
Yeah, I'm just not. We're just gonna ignore Cyberpunk. I'm not gonna go on another rant about it because I'll just talk your ear off about Cyberpunk. But
mhm,
anyways,
yeah.
but Blood of Dawnwalker looks really good. The one thing that the developers mentioned during their showcase was that one of the main mechanics was the day and night cycle, and you have a limited amount of time before the villains win the game. What I
Yeah.
mean by that is that you have 30 days and 30 nights to stop the villains of the story.
Oh
And
man, I can't tell you how much I love those mechanics. It's a little bit of like hate and love because like obviously the first Fallout was like that where you had this like timer counting down, and if you couldn't find the solution, everybody died. And so that was very panic inducing for me as a kid.
I think they said that that was one of their inspirations was Fallout and the timer of trying to rescue everybody before everything, gets
Hmm.
destroyed.
Yeah. And,
And
and apologies if you hear me coughing and hacking. I'm trying to hit the mute button every time I do that, but if you hear that, my apologies. I know I hate it when I hear people coughing on videos and stuff. So sorry, keep going.
no, you're fine. But I thought when I heard about the mechanic, I was like a little iffy because some people obviously don't like to. People like to play their games at their own pace, and so when I heard there was a timer, I was like, I don't know how I feel about that because I like to play games at my own pace, but I was like, that's not going to stop me from playing this game. I want to play this game. I'm really excited to play it. So I was gonna try. From what the devs have been trying to say, they said that if you want to take a stroll through the daytime, through the nighttime, want to take a stroll, take in the sights, you can. There's no set timer to do that. But when you have quests, you have a limit. From what I understand, they're trying to say they didn't confirm this. This is me trying to like piece what they were trying to say. I think how they're gonna work the time cycle and stuff is that they're gonna give you quests and you have a certain amount of time to complete those quests. And
Yeah.
you can't do all the quests because it takes up so much of the time that you only like have. Oh, they said that the time itself is a resource. So you have to like use it sparingly. So in your first playthrough, there's like one whole area you never discovered because you were only focused on one area uh, within a certain amount of time. And I was like, that is so freaking interesting. I kind of want to, I kind of want to play this game. I'm like it's not, it doesn't feel like a detriment, though some people most likely won't like it. It just seems very interesting to me. And plus, they said since it's an RPG, I'm assuming there's probably multiple endings and like didn't different ways you can go about like taking out the bad guys. Or maybe I don't know. It's an RPG. Maybe you could join them. I don't know. Like, well, you never know. Uh, I like playing at my own pace. Kisuke says I'm more fine with events that have timers on them than the entire time having a clock tick down. I think it's more like they're gonna have like a little symbol to like have like how many days you have left and how much time you have left. I don't think it's like an actual ticking down the timer. I think it's just be like, hey, you have this much time spared. If you go on this quest, it's gonna take like a day. and then you're only down to like 20 days now because it took one of the days off. Do you know what I mean? I don't know if I'm making any sense. I don't think it's an actual timer. I think it's just like it's a numeral like
Or
counter.
like, yeah. No, there's mechanics like that. Um, yeah, that's interesting.
And then they were talking about how you can make allies and stuff like that. And then you need to also be careful of your bloodthirst, and that if you don't keep a track of like your hunger, you will unintentionally kill a friend. Like you'd be like, "Oh, my hunger's fine." Then you go talk to one of your allies, and then during the cutscene, you just attack them out of nowhere. They're like, it is a thing that will happen if you don't, keep a track of your hunger. So, I
So
like.
like example, like if you really like Asterion and you can't say no to him, you're just gonna end up, either dead or something at some point.
I honestly thought that if you could, because it seems like when you offer to let him bite you, I thought like you have to pass a lot of freaking checks, and I was curious on what would happen if you just prolonged the scene. So I was like, but then it just seemed like if you kept going, he just eventually kills you. So it's like, oh, okay, well, never mind. That happens, which is typical because he's a vampire. So of course he'd kill you while feeding on you for a long period of time.
Mm-hmm.
But my main oh yeah, what was also interesting was that during the trailer, it actually gives you a hint of the fighting abilities of the different vampires. Because I don't know if this is a spoiler, but the devs have already confirmed that the vampires that you meet aren't the good guys. They are actually the antagonists, so you will have to fight them, which is very disappointing to me because I was like, no,
Of
we
course
can't,
it is.
we can't romance them. What do you mean? But yeah, but if you actually, I obviously obsessed as I am with the trailer, I watched it like 4 or 5 times on stream, and I noticed that each of the vampires had different abilities, and I was like, "Ooh, interesting." So it gives you a little insight about like how they work and stuff. I'm a little scared to fight the vampire lord, like the leader of the vampire band, because he seems like he might actually be a pain to take out. They haven't showed what his ability is, but I have a feeling he's going to be a pain to take out. But yeah, I'm trying to remember if there's anything else oh yeah, so the main character is a half vampire. Like he was like they were trying to change him into a vampire, but it didn't the transformation didn't take because not fully because apparently, and they said this in the game showcase. The reason why he didn't transform fully was because he worked in the silver mines. So he has silver inside his body, which didn't really, which help protect him from the full transformation of being a vampire. And I thought that was so interesting. I thought that was so interesting. I've never heard of, something like that before. I thought it was very original in my opinion. Yeah, I'd prefer the side with the vamps. Yeah, Kisuke knows. Kisuke understands. You get it, Kisuke.
Yes, the vampires.
I'm still
Mm-hmm.
I'm still wondering if you can like romance anybody in the game. They didn't say anything about romance, so I assume not, but that's not going to stop the fan fictions. It's not going to stop the fangirls like me. Trying to remember if there's anything else. Dude, I even Kisuke said humans are kind of awful. I actually made a comparison. I was like, what's the difference between getting used as cattle by a human lord and then getting used as human cattle by a vampire lord? What's the difference? Might as well just, side with the vampires. Might as well just side with the vampires, I In my case, I welcome our new rulers with open arms.
Uh-huh. Uh-huh.
No, no ulterior motives. No ulterior motives. Of course not. But yeah, I'm really excited to see what they're gonna do for this game. It's by the same people who made by the same director and by some of the same OG people who made The Witcher 3. I'm very excited. Uh not to totally I hope it's not disrespectful of me to say this, but I definitely get very strong Witcher vibes, like Witcher 3 vibes from this. Like the cinematics, the scenery, like the medieval horror gothic of it. It just gives a lot really strong Witcher 3 vibes. Which is saying something because I haven't even played Witcher 3. I've only seen like images and some cutscenes here and there and like some tiny bit of gameplay. And I was like this is Witcher 2.0, right? This is Witcher 4, right? Witcher 5. Yeah. Oh my. But yeah, it definitely gives that nostalgic feel of that. Oh yeah, they also hinted at there was more monsters besides vampires, so I'm curious on what that is. During the tiny bit of
You
gameplay.
gotta, yeah, you gotta do that. That just makes sense.
Yeah, of course. Oh, you want to play some Gwent? Dang it, notional. But they also was it? They also hinted. What was it? Okay, so yeah, they didn't. What I'm a little annoyed is that they didn't specify about like I wouldn't say companions, but they didn't specify about allies and who you can ally yourself with and all that, which I'm a little annoyed about. Mm, Trying to remember if there's anything else I want to talk about. You gotta save your family. Apparently, the vampires kidnap your family and they're gonna use them as a sacrifice. So you have like 30 days and 30 nights to save them, or else like there's gonna be sacrifice for a ritual, and something bad's gonna happen. I assume.
I
Um.
wonder, I wonder how they're playing that angle. That because that's always an interesting way to like play the story angle. Um, so yeah,
Oh, they said that
hmm.
the enemies are very reactive to what you do. So if you start, what they said, if the main character Cohen starts starts causing trouble around the kingdom, especially in one certain area, uh, the lord, the vampire lord of the settlement or kingdom, whichever, of that little area, he's going to react to what you do. So he's going to start sending more guards to outposts and stuff like that. Like more guards are more heavily in this one area because you have caused too much trouble in that area for his liking. So he's going to be reactive to what you do. And I thought that was really freaking cool. I'm really excited to see what oh, I can't wait. I can't wait. I'm so excited. Um Oh yeah, they actually showed one of the enemies was like a clockwork machine monster thing.
I love I write about a lot of clockwork stuff in my series. I have clockwork zombies. It's great.
What?
I absolutely yeah, yeah. That's one of the main like antagonist groups in my series is clockwork, essentially clockwork like zombies. I really like the idea and the concept. So yeah.
Oh yeah.
That's cool. I like that. That definitely makes me more interested for finding out more about the title now.
Yeah, I still don't know how we're going to like if we can upgrade the characters' abilities and stuff. I'm curious about that. If upgrading our abilities makes us more vampire, or because we only have vampire, we only have a limited amount of abilities we can use. I don't know. Is I'm curious. But that's all we've got so far. They only said a certain amount of stuff. Oh, the OST. like the soundtrack that the little bit of soundtrack that they've played for the showcase, it was gorgeous. I loved it. I was it the Ballad of Night and Day, I think,
Hmm.
or Day and Night, I don't know, one of those. And then there's Desperate Measures. Desperate Measures is my favorite one because it has like that tribal singing in it that I love in medieval games. Uh, that's Desperate Measures is such a good is a good game, and I think it was in the like gameplay part of the trailer. Okay, I'm really excited for this game. This game is developed by Rebel Wolves. That is the new studio with the original director who made The Witcher 3. They're called
Hmm.
Rebel Wolves.
Yeah.
Keep an eye on it. I'm a little disappointed that the trailer didn't get as many views as it deserves. I'm pretty sure it deserves like millions of views, but the last time I looked at it, it was only at like 700,000 views. I was like, oh, it deserves
What
more. It deserves more.
is is there a character creator, or are you set
Oh, yes,
a
it's
set character?
unfortunately it's a set character. I was like, oh, I'm disappointed.
Okay,
But
that is slightly disappointing because I always stump for you do get more creative writing when you have the ability to kind of like allow the player to create their own character, and then they kind of fill in a lot of those blanks. But then at the same time, I also understand that if you're going for something super cinematic, that typically you can get a little bit more pull out of it, out of having a set character. So
I
like
mean,
I don't
Baldur's
think you
Gate.
would have had the I don't think you would have had the weight of The Witcher 3 if you had a character creator. I think it still would have been good, but the way that they hit it, obviously they nailed that out of the park. But with the concept of like allowing you to create a character, I think that you do get really good storytelling out of that. You just have to do it. You just have to do it right. So yeah, it's okay. All right,
I
that's
mean,
interesting.
I was gonna say that Baldur's Gate 3 did a good job of like having a
Oh yeah,
character creator. Like you
oh
can make
yeah.
your own character and have that cinematic
Mhm.
look in the
Oh yeah,
cutscenes.
totally. But because I'm gonna guess that this isn't a silent protagonist, that all of their dialogue is gonna be acted. It's like I do see why some companies think and honestly believe that it's like, oh no, it's in our best interest to not, pigeonhole us into one particular story. It's like I totally get that, totally understand.
Yeah.
But I'm not always a fan of that idea and that concept.
I mean,
So yeah, it's interesting.
the good thing about this is that I don't know, from what I understand, you have a set character, but I don't know if you can like control his personality much, like on how he reacts to things. Like I said, they only for the showcase they only showed so much, and they said that they're
Hmm.
going to show actual gameplay of summer this year, sometime in the summer this year. So
Yeah.
there's there's time for us to figure it all out, but at this point we're just speculating. But I'm just curious, like, can you steer him into different like paths, or is he his own set
Hmm.
character? Can you make different choices for him? Like that's what I'm curious about because it's a new story, it's a new character. So it's like how much control over the character does the player have? Like that's what I'm curious about. And does is there
Hmm.
romance? And then can I romance, can I romance people? That's what I want to know. I want to know. I need this information for reasons.
Your character clearly has a family that they're trying to save, and meanwhile, like Reaver's over here like, but I wanna romance one of this tall, handsome studs who kidnapped my family because, yeah, yeah,
Don't act like they probably don't have an ending where your family's when your family doesn't make it and then you probably become a creature of the night. All right, let's not pretend they probably have an ending of that. All right.
mm-hmm, mm-hmm. So yeah, interesting stuff.
But yeah, keep an eye on Blood of Dawnwalker, especially if you're like a huge RPG, nerd like I am. Like it's something to keep track of. I'm also really excited for Exodus, which is which also has that nostalgic feel of Mass Effect. Uh, it is. I've actually played the Mass Effect series. I didn't play Witcher, but I did play the Mass Effect series, and I'm a huge Bioware fan. And Exodus definitely has that Bioware OG Bioware feel, and I'm just like really excited for it. Uh, but moving on. So I forgot what this fucking I forgot what this game was called. Hold on. Let me pull up this short clip because Asmongold talks a little bit briefly about it. Because I forgot the name of the game. Let's be honest. Oopsie daisy. Uh, where am I? That's game capture. Oopsie daisy. There you go. Okay. I forgot what this game was called. I was gonna play a little bit of it. Oh, Unknown 9. Yeah. Unknown 9
Yeah,
franchise canceled as developer
which
admits.
is that's why you had your unknown. That's why you couldn't know it, is because it was totally unknown.
Yeah. That's why I forgot the name. It's unknown. But this is just Concord 2.0 where they had expectations of a huge series. They made a card game, they made comics, there were plans for a TV spin-off, maybe even a movie spin-off. Like they had built a whole franchise on a game that didn't even release yet, which is the same thing that happened with Concord. And they lost hundreds of millions of dollars putting all their hopes and dreams on a game that didn't even release. And don't even get me started on like the horrible gameplay, dude. It looks like
Mhm.
it looks so bad. Oh god. It looks so bad, dude. I don't even know who thought this was a good idea. What the what the fuck was that?
I've got so many words for this.
What is that? This is the good gameplay that they showcased. This is the good gameplay
Right?
that they showcased. They're like, "Oh yeah, this oh god, it looks so potato. The graphics didn't render in. Is this a PlayStation 2 game? What is this? It looks so
It
potato."
is. I know it honestly looks really really bad. The combat is really bad. The dialogue scenes are, I mean these dialogue scenes are really quite terrible. Like, again, like if this had come out from a double A studio, we wouldn't criticize that it so much. If this came out from a studio from like a decade ago, again, wouldn't have that much criticism for it. But this is a premier studio funded by a premier, publisher, who went to the lengths of creating an entire cinematic universe for this, and the character is just genuinely unlikable. Um, every time I see a different picture of the character, of the main character, um, they don't look the same as the other picture. Like that, like how you have it frozen right now. That character does not look like the character that was in the cinematic,
Y-
20 seconds ago.
yeah.
And it's like, and her outfit is just like it's very uninspiring. Um, you know, I'm I'm there was a really good post on Twitter a couple weeks ago where it was like, this is, the game studios think this is what people want to play. And it's of a fugly, ugly character that is just poorly made, doesn't look attractive, doesn't look beautiful, doesn't look strong, doesn't look cunning, doesn't look anything. They look terrible.
I I
And
don't
then on the other side is the modded Skyrim picture or something like that, and it's like this is what players want. It's like, yeah, shocker, shocker, shocker that players want to play something that looks attractive. Now, yes, obviously, like, we don't need, you know, can I say the G word? I don't know if I can say the G word. The person who's really into attractive, scantily clad things, right? That starts with a G word. You don't need that all the time, obviously, but at the same time, you want something that somebody's going to find attractive because people like playing attractive characters. Now, this character isn't as bad as some of them, obviously. Like, there's some worse examples out there. But at the same time, it's like, and I'm not saying it's like, oh yeah, you gotta have everything look like uh, Eve from Stellar Blade, right? Like, you don't have to do that. Like, that's not necessary. That's not how that works. Like, you look at Spider-Man in the Marvel's game, the new Marvel game that just came out. You look at the Punisher. You look at any of those characters. It's like they all look amazing, right? And
Yeah.
it's like if you're having somebody do this kind of stuff, it's like they have to look good. And this doesn't look good. It looks like you're trying to be way too realistic for a time period in a fantasy world that doesn't have, like, good character design. And it's not this. And again, it's like I played Grand Blue Fantasy Grand Blue really, and they have some really great character designs in there. And not all of them are thirst traps. They're just well made characters, with a handful of them being like very very cute, and an even smaller amount being like very attractive. But again, you just kind of you hit this wall of like why are studios trying to force this down? Like, why did they think this would work? Like, if like, yeah,
I don't
it's just weird.
I
I
don't
came
want to
across I was doing
I just wanted to point
go
out
go ahead.
the I don't want to be that person to, point out even more stereotypes of this kind of stuff, but I didn't play the audio, but she, even in the cutscene, she's like, I don't need company or a chaperone. Who do you think she's talking to? Just from that dialogue. Oh,
Sorry, I had myself muted
no,
because I
you're
was coughing.
you're good.
Um, so I can't remember what the character, like, was it her brother or something like that?
It
I
was
didn't
a
really get the feeling of it when I watched the trailer to begin with.
she was talking to another dude, but in this particular scene, she's talking to an old man, with gray hair,
Oh, okay, yeah.
who followed her on her mission, and she's like, I don't need company or a chaperone. And I'm like, of course, we're doing this again. I thought
Yeah.
we were
That's
we were
again,
done.
it's like, so here's the thing with writing fantasy, and I really want to hammer whatever idiots thought that this is, like, whatever idiot thinks this is a good idea. It's like, okay, when you're writing fantasy, if you're injecting real world politics into your direct story in a duplicate manner to the way that you would have addressed that in reality, you're an idiot. I'm sorry, but you're functionally, from a writing perspective, you're an idiot. Like, just flat out. If you want to talk about the evils of capitalism, or the evils of communism, it's like, at least have the wherewithal and the creative intelligence to put that into a different story, right? Like, Avatar is the one with the blue aliens, is a great example
That
of
gave me such
you know
whiplash because I was like, yeah, Avatar: The Last Airbender, but then you're like the one with the blue aliens. I was like, wait,
yeah,
what?
yeah,
I
I
was
know,
like, wait,
because I had
what?
I know because most people do think like that, right? Well, I guess the Avatar: The Last Airbender, the first, the yeah, that series, not the Korra series, but the
Yeah.
first series, that's a great example of totalitarianism. of creating an imbalance in a system that requires balance in order to maintain balance, because that's really what it is about. It's like the Fire Nation tipped the balance in their favor, and all they ended up doing was harming. Essentially, they harmed, like, obviously they harmed the air tribe, but they also ended up causing serious harm to all of the other tribes, and in the end it just ended up creating sadness for themselves. And I don't think I don't think in the I don't think I often look at that particular story and I think the Fire Nation didn't suffer enough. Like from what they did, they didn't suffer enough, and the writers really should have missed that. They shouldn't have showed, because what they showed was like the internal Fire Nation was like, oh yeah, it's like basically like they're all living in basically like paradise with very light authoritarian like ideals coming down. It's like that's not what happens in a society that genocides another group in order to like hold power. Like that is not what happens at all. Like not in the slightest. It's what you would see is you would see like essentially like internal gulags where anybody who questions the state gets disappeared to. And they didn't really showcase that. Instead they showcased, oh yeah, and then Aang saved everybody, and then it's all like, oh yeah, then the Fire Nation was just like, oh yeah, we'll give up our prestigious point of power. It's like, yeah, I don't think that's how that plays out. There are a handful of like minor issues,
I
just
mean,
minor
you just
issues
have to
with
check
it. But
history
again,
and
it's
with
like
World
you,
War II, and like
right,
what happens after
exactly.
a huge country went after other countries, you know?
Yeah. Well, you've got several thousand years to look at that as far as like historical stuff goes. But the comparison to this is, here you
Which
have
would have
this
been, which
lady
is like,
going, I don't need company or a chaperone. She's saying something that you would hear in a 1990s teen movie. Like that's a line
I'm
from a
not like
teen
other
movie in the
girls.
90s. Yeah. And it's just and again it's like, okay, you can have that said, like you can bring across the same point, but again, if you're doing that and you're just like, it's a one for one copy of what you grew up with dealing with, and it's literally a one for one copy, but you're trying to put it off as it's if it's in like a completely different world. It's like that's going to have a completely different result. It's not exactly the same, and to think that it is very stupid and very arrogant. And again, it's like sure, the writing in this might be better than what I'm giving it credit for, but at the same time it's like nobody found this game enjoyable. Obviously the gameplay sucked, but also the story sucked too. And and again, there's so many ways to address this kind of stuff, and I feel, as a writer, I feel like kind of like insulted when people do this and they say, no, this is good writing. It's like, no, this is not good writing. Your character was saying things that were a one for one copy of what you would hear somebody saying at a current day political rally that held the same, more or less the same views. It's a one for one comparison instead of like having something portrayed in a completely different way. And a good writer would take that, they would take that situation, like like capitalism or authoritarianism or communism or whatever, and they would wrap it in a completely different shell, showcase something completely different, and then bring it in from that side. And there's a bunch of games that do that really really well, like um uh Tales of Arise. They do a really good job with that. Tales of Vesperia, they did that really really well. There was a whole bunch of really really good bits in there. And then you have you have other games these days that do a really good job with that. So it's poor writing when you just create a one for one and then you slap it into a magical world. And the thing that's kind of dumb is that if you take the dialogue and you write it out, and then you write out what the scene, like what was going on in the scene, and you describe the characters a little bit, and you describe the attacks that they're doing, you describe the magic that they're doing, I can't tell the difference between this and what was that other one? It was like, what was it called? Was it Forspoken? I gotta look this up.
either, wait, for like
Forspoken.
bad dialogue?
Yes, yeah,
Yeah. Oh
Forspoken.
God, yeah.
If you
That
take
was
the
bad.
dialogue from Forspoken and you take the dialogue from this game, and you again you just use a general description, like you get somebody to explain the scene that we just watched in the trailer, get them to explain that scene in like 30 seconds. Like not in depth entail. I couldn't tell these two games apart.
Mm.
Why? Because they're basically the same garbage. Because that's what the brain. I hate saying it because it sounds conspiratorial, and I don't mean it to be conspiratorial, but this is the brainwash level stupidity that you get when you when you pull all of your writers and all of your creators and your creative sources from the same pool.
I
Like
mean,
you go down fishing.
to be fair, they all do the same thing. It's not that big of a coincidence. I would assume they all
Yeah,
kind of collectively come together and be like, this is what is in now, so this is what we're gonna do. Like it's not that far fetched
yeah,
to come to that conclusion. It's not really a conspiracy
yeah.
when it has been proven time and time again they do the same stuff. They put the same stuff in the
right,
games.
exactly.
They have the same talking points when they talk to each other, which has been leaked, and stuff that they talk to each other on Twitter, which has been very publicly shown. So it's not very
Yeah,
conspiratorial.
yeah.
When a duck quacks,
Yeah,
it's a duck, you
it's
know, like
exactly. And that's what really, like, again, that's what this showcases is like. I can't tell the dialogue, and if you just take the dialogue, like some of the dialogue, and you take that out of, like, some of the other games that have come out this year, again, it's like it's really hard to distinguish the difference between them. Maybe we should do that. Maybe we should take like clips of dialogue from a whole
try
bunch of these games,
to try to
and then we'll get Ash in here and be like, "Hey Ash, like which line of dialogue does this belong to?" And he would like, or just go on the street. Like, I love those street things where they take out like a big billboard and it's like, here's a quote. Which one of these people said it? And you got like one modern day politician, and then like three people who've committed genocide in the last 100 years.
Oh
And people
God.
are like, yeah, and they can't like they can't differentiate between like the stuff. I find that stuff kind of like funny to watch and whatnot. But yeah, this game, um a
Hmm.
complete and total failure across all boards. This was Unknown Nine, or Unknown Awakens, or whatever this was called, was unknown for a very good reason, and was so poorly done that they really just completely failed in
Now,
the regard of like the process of doing that.
what
and,
I
and
also
it's and it honestly is truly sad.
yeah. So what I wanted to point out was that I couldn't find it. It can't exactly pinpoint it in this video, but at
Mm.
some point he points out that the consecutive players all time for the game since release was 200, 240 something since
Hmm.
release.
Yeah.
That's the highest number is 200. Consecutive players daily was 17. So this game is definitely dead on arrival. Uh
Oh yeah.
and
This game, again, this game is so dead that they couldn't even get everybody who worked on it to play it at the same time.
Jesus. And
Which again is
this
just
is
it's just that's just so bad.
what we're seeing right now is the last dregs of DEI content coming out of the pipework
Oh, it's
of
not
the
the
gaming
last.
industry. It's not
It's
the
not the
last,
last.
but
Nope.
it's not the
Nope.
there I'm not gonna lie, there's some companies that are still refusing to get with the program, which is that their time has since passed. This trend is starting to pass. No one actually cares about this. They're slowly starting to realize that they're not making money off of this. I don't know if it's going to be like every time I think that there's going to be a huge change in the gaming industry because people have proven time and again that they're not going to buy these types of games. Like I hear that companies are just going to double down even harder on this stuff. So it's like I want to believe that the gaming industry is slowly going to move away from this. But then other companies are just very stubborn, digging in their heels and refusing for this stuff to die. But I'm hoping it will. I don't know. I've seen some interesting games are in the pipeline right now that look really good that are going to release soon, and I'm very excited for. I I don't know. Like I feel there's a possibility that they could suck. Let's be honest here. Like there has been time and again where games have released that look good, but the something about it didn't, fully come to fruition. Like Vampire. Vampire came out like years ago, and it was a pretty hyped game for, people who wanted to play a vampire game. And me personally, like I said before, I played the game. I loved the first half of the game. The story was amazing. It was the second half that I did not like. So, yeah, the games could come out. The first part of the story is great. The second part of the story probably could fall short. Like, we never know. You never know. But I'm trying to be optimistic because I don't want the gaming industry to totally crash and burn. I what I'm hoping for is that there's going to be a
I wouldn't.
shift in the industry where
I
like
wouldn't.
we go
Yeah.
back to how things used to be, where like quality content was king and not preachy preachy gamers are bad. Which I'm like, why would you say that to your customer base? Like that makes no sense to me. Is that supposed to be like some kind of reverse psychology kind of thing? Like I don't understand. That's just most people like would get repelled by that and they'll be like, "No, I'm not interested." Speaking of, which is a good transition, did you know that they're actually starting to push games to be base games to be $100 instead of $70?
Yep.
We
Yep.
knew,
And
we
they've been
knew.
pushing it for a while.
Yep, they've been talking about it for years. And I even like literally one of my first videos on my YouTube channel years ago was me complaining. I was going to say the B word. I caught myself. I'm a professional, guys. Uh it was me complaining about them pushing $100 back when they were just starting to push games to be $70. And I was
Hmm.
like losing my head over it, and now
Right.
it's starting to become a possible reality. Well, let's be honest. Them making rumors is just them testing the waters because they're going to do it anyways. Let's be honest here. They're like
Right.
preparing you for the big push, as it were. And this talking point has come up time and again of them wanting to make video games $100. And they're like, guys, the economy, bro. Guys, the economy, it's so bad. And we're not making enough money, and it's taking so much money to make these games. You don't understand. And let's uh you know let's talk about the elephant in the room. The reason why that it costs so much and the reason why they need so much money is because they're bleeding money. They're bleeding money because their games suck. Their games are bad. They're terrible, and they're expecting us, instead of paying $70 for their poopy games, they want us to pay $100 of our hard earned money, $100 for their poopy games that aren't even worth being at the bottom of my foot. Like they're so bad. Like, are you kidding? Are you insane? Like, people are being very picky about the games that they purchase now because they cannot afford some of the games that are coming out now, especially the limited editions, the the FOMO freaking editions where you get all these digital rewards. Sorry, I was gonna say awards. These digital awards for, and then maybe if you shill out maybe an extra $200, you can get physical, kind of not really that great physical stuff, physical edition. Like Not everyone can freaking afford that, guys. All right, executives, I'm talking to you specifically. No one can afford that. All right, like people buy the base game because that's the cheapest one, and even then, most people wait until it goes on sale. Like, are you kidding me? And then you're trying to say that you're gonna push it to $100. Then what are the freaking editions gonna be? $300? Are you freaking insane? I mean, don't be. I mean, to be fair, some of the editions that did actually come out recently, some of the editions for games that came out recently were almost close to $300, maybe getting close up to $400, which is ridiculous that this is even a thing that's happening right now. I know the economy is bad, but this is a multi-billion-dollar industry. Like, what are you talking about? Oh, inflation and stuff. You know, games are actually supposed to be cheaper. Did you know that? Okay, so riddle me this. When they sold games, they used to sell physical copies of the games. Physical copies of the games. Then the gaming industry is like, you know, guys, it costs a lot of money to produce video games as physical copies, so we're gonna stop doing that. Okay, so if it costs a lot of money to do physical copies and you're not doing that anymore, wouldn't the price of video games go down because they're just digital lines of code? No, the prices went up actually. Actually, the prices went up. How does that make sense? How? How does that make sense? Oh, it only makes sense to obviously the executives because they want more money and they want to wring the customers dry because they don't care about quality. They just care about getting every cent out of your pockets. And I'm just flabbergasted because they think they can keep doing this. They can't. They're literally, this is not sustained. I knew that the live service model was never going to be sustainable because you're hoping that the same group of people are going to constantly keep giving you money, millions of dollars every year, and you're expecting everyone to do that, when in reality only a small group of people can actually afford to do that. And so you're going to have like how many games come out that are live service? How many games have come out in the past 5 years that are live service? And you're expecting the same group of the same group of people to fund all of those freaking games. All of those games. That is delusional. That is unrealistic. That is so insane. That I am not a business major. I am not a business major, guys. I don't understand business all that well. I only took economy for 1 semester in high school. And I know this. I know this. And I'm like, how can you not understand how the industry works and how the business model works? How can you think that this is sustainable? It's not. And so, of course, what happens now? We're looking at the AAA bubble is bursting. What happened now? A lot of companies have canceled live service games. You're seeing them die off one by one because guess what? It wasn't sustainable. Well, no freaking no duh. No, duh, it was not sustainable. And then you're thinking, we're in a time where people are very stingy with their money and they're only going to buy games where they think it is worth their time and their money. We're in this timeline, guys, where we're purchasing games if they are worth our time and our money. Are they worth it? Most games are not worth it. Executives, please hear me. Most of your games are not worth it. They are not worth $70. And now you're freaking telling me that they still haven't fixed the quality of games, yet they're still trying to push the $100 price tag. Your business is going to go under. Your business is done. Is done.
There are so many. Yeah, exactly. There are so many games that are made by small indie developers that I get more time out of than these big like AAA devs. Like, and then not even to mention the true golden ones like Baldur's Gate, where it's like yeah, I'm waiting to play the latest update again and play through the whole game again when I finally have time, which may not actually happen this year. But no, it's exactly that. It's the fact that there's so many of these games, and they just they're they're saying, "Oh, you owe us so much more because the games are more expensive to make." It's like,
That's not our
yes, but
fault.
also your
That's not
ability
on
to
us.
like sell. Like, if you go back to when games originally came out and they were originally like 50, $60, it's like the vast majority of those games were you were selling to a small market of a few million people tops. Well, now you're selling to literally half a billion, and you're putting the stupidity of these constrictions on yourself. Like 100% you're doing this to yourself. 100% you're limiting your market when you're only selling to people who buy your consoles or people who pay exorbitant prices for other things. And again, the arrogance, the stupidity, the gall that people have to be like, wow, the company needs to make all this much more money. It's like yet you've added microtransactions in. Like, excuse me, what? No. No,
So
you do not get this.
So you want me to pay $70 on top of the $20 microtransactions, on top of the $30 season pass, on top of the special event that might be also maybe kind of $70 in itself. So you're paying for two games in one. Like, you think I'm exaggerating, but some of these freaking companies are going oh, out the mile, out of the booty to get as much money out of you as possible. It's insanity, bro. It's insanity. It has been a problem for so long now that I'm actually glad I'm actually glad live service is starting to die out. Did you know that Bioware actually lost 6 billion in stocks because of FIFA? Did you know that? Their FIFA sales are down now. This is
Who'd you say? EA or
EA.
BioWare?
Oh, sorry. Did I say
Okay.
Bioware? I meant EA. My bad.
Yeah, I think you
My
said
bad.
BioWare.
My bad.
I was like, they're not the ones running the show over there.
They're not?
They wouldn't do a better job. Apparently, they wouldn't do a better job of it. Which again, it's just so weird. It's so weird that they cannot seem to do like anything. Like it's really infuriating. It really is when you look at stuff and you're like, hey, I would like to play this, and they're like, no, why would we want to like do this? Like, there's a whole bunch of older games that they could totally remaster with ease, and then there's other games that they could just bring out and give us and sell for just normal stuff, but they don't do any of that because they're too, like you said, they're basically too stupid to put two and two together.
Now, Notional, I swear me and you are going to have this discussion for a while because he's said the same thing in Discord and I really I do not agree. He says games have never been cheaper compared to buying power and inflation and never gone on sale faster either. If that were true, why when they stopped making physical copies, why did the price never go down? Why did it actually go up? Why? If that were true that they are cheaper now, why did the price never change? In fact, went up. Like that is such a thinly veiled excuse. And do you know why they're asking for $100? It's because they need to accumulate the losses that they've made of selling so many dumb games that are not even worth the time and effort to play. They spent hundreds of millions of dollars pushing out low quality content that they're leaking money now. They are losing billions in stock. And whose fault is that? Oh, it's the gamers. It's the gamers' fault because they're not interested in our dumb games. Oh my god, Lord forbid they actually want quality. Lord forbid they actually want something that's good. Oh my goodness gracious. Who could have foreseen this? So yes, I'm glad you putting $100 price tag on your poopy games is a death sentence for your company, because most people weren't willing to buy were very hesitant to buy your $70 games. $100 is just a sure sign that they're definitely not going to buy your freaking games. They are not going to buy your games because $100, especially for games that aren't rendered properly, have a nonsensical story, have a freaking character that hates men, which is most of your fan base. Most of your fan base is male.
Yeah.
You're going to put your freaking company under. And this is what baffles me so much, that they're making so many decisions that is going to surefire burn their company to the ground. Are we shocked that the stock markets are starting to actually show that they're losing money? Are we shocked, guys? I'm not shocked. That actually makes sense. I'm actually surprised it took this long for them to say that, hey, actually we're losing $1 billion in stocks. Yeah, I would assume so, because the game quality you've been pushing out hasn't been the same for the last 10 years. And is there anything else you want to say about the $100? Because I kind of took over the subject a bit. I'm sorry.
It does cost more than ever to make games and market them, but it's never been easier to sell a game to somebody.
It's never been easier.
The people that are having issues, the biggest issues that I see, are not from games that are, it's like Baldur's Gate, perfect example of a great game that sold tremendously well, made a lot of people a lot of money, and made a lot of fans very, very happy. And their next project, unless they completely bomb it, is also going to sell amazingly well and do very good. And there's a whole bunch of other games out there that follow the same process of, like, make something reasonable, make something good, and then release it. And, like, there's so many games that do well and make a lot of money, but unfortunately you just have the C-level, the leaders of these companies are listening to analysts and strategists who are like, oh yeah, you have to do X, Y, and Z. And no, you don't at all. What are you thinking? You're ruining everything. Like, stop, please. Like, before you hurt, more of your own employees, like, please stop. Like, this is insane.
Now,
but no, they have no interest in stopping or slowing down, because they have this idea of what they can do and of what people want. But again, just like I referred to earlier, it's like, it's not even the picture or the thirst trap stuff. It's that gamers are asking for this, and you're giving them everything that's not that. It's like having one of those CEOs come out during a presentation, and you're like, did you add this to the game? No, we didn't think that was something that players wanted. Did you add this other feature to the game that everybody's asking for? No, we didn't really feel that was, that was something that we wanted to do. Okay, did you add this other popular feature that's been in every game, for the past like 20 years in this particular franchise? No, we decided to walk away with it. Well, did you replace it with anything interesting? No, we have a new thing where you pay us more money. And it's just like, do you even hear yourself talk? Like, at that point, you have to ask them, do you even hear yourself talk? Do you have any conception of what's going on? Because I don't think you do.
What I'm curious about is, where did the money go? Now, we're not talking about 5 million. We're not talking about 10 million. We're talking about 200 million, 400 million. Where did that go? Now, Notional and Kisuke both made some fair points. They said games have wait, no, that's not it. Development costs have never been higher for games than they are now. notional. Kisuke said they don't have to produce their games in states and cities that are some of the highest costs of living in the world. So if that's
Yeah.
true, where is the money? Where is it going? What are they spending their money on? If things are high priced now, okay, I can understand living things going on in America. Inflation is like out the wazoo. I get that. 200 million, where did it go? Where did it go? Because this slop is not worth 200 million.
Yeah.
It's not worth 200 million. 400 million in the case of Concord. Oh, I can tell you where that money went to produce movies and comic books that no one even freaking asked for because no one even wanted to play the game.
And it's like they didn't even do that right. Like they didn't do it in a successful manner. It's like if you're going to create a comic series or a TV show, it's like first of all you have to get some level of interest in your thing to begin with, which means that the smart idea would have been to have kind of like an open beta that probably lasted a while that focused around some core concepts of the game, and then you have like these monthly like sit downs with the audience, with the players, and you're going, which features do you like, which features do you think we should work on, because you are dealing with a very shortened cycle. Any idiot who spends $200 million and 7 years to pump out a game is an idiot like because you're not getting real time feedback. You're acting on something that was probably like 8 years away from release as far as like trending data. It's like of course you're off. Of
And
course you don't know what you're getting yourself into.
and they're
And then
probably
and then
surrounded by yes men.
oh yeah, and the yes men thing is absolutely mind boggling. The amount of companies and the amount of corporations and the amount of big industries that look at a request and they just look at you like you're stupid, and you're like, and they're like, no, 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 we have an analyst who has assured us that the actual technology that you want is X, Y, and Z. It's like,
Only to turn out they have no actual analyst experience.
yeah,
In
and
the case of Ubisoft, they hired someone who is a Japanese expert, but turns out doesn't even know anything, and then most of the game is just BS that they just haphazardly put in the game. Like,
yeah, it's like stuff that they put onto Wikipedia, and again, I can't believe that somebody fell for this. It's like Ubisoft Montreal is one of the stupidest organizations on the planet. They entrusted their entire story and direction to a guy who was self-quoting himself on Wikipedia and then using his quotes in the
uh,
press,
it wasn't just
quoting
him. It was
yeah,
also,
yeah, no, no, yeah. There was a bunch of other people involved in
yeah.
that, but it was all terrible. Like it was all genuinely like absolutely horrendously terrible. Period. The amount of stupidity that went into that, the fact that they pulled Japanese to create some of the merchandise, and they didn't even use real Japanese characters, and
Oh,
then they
God.
sent it to real Japanese people who speak real Japanese, and they're like, what is this garbage? This is gibberish. It doesn't like this doesn't mean anything. You like
That is
what are you
so
doing?
offensive,
And
dude.
then again, it's like they look up public landmarks that are not free use copyright. Like these things are like, you know, if you copy it, it's technically a crime in that country.
Oh,
This is,
God.
is very specifically, do not copy this. Or hey, don't copy this thing that remembers a massive genocidal war act of war, and all of the associated problems that come with that. But again, nobody from that stupid company, none of those idiots had the two
Don't
cents
remember.
to go,
Don't forget the release
hey,
date.
hey, just so you know, we probably shouldn't use this thing. Hey, just so you know, we probably really shouldn't release it on this particular day because that's like releasing a product on some like solemn day. Like imagine you're very quiet. You're going through it's November the 11th. You're going through your memorial thing, and then somebody flies a plane overhead that's got an advertisement. It's like drink. What's the beer from The Simpsons? Is it
It
draft
was
beer or is it? Buff beer? No, I can't remember what it is.
Bud
But
Light?
it's like no. It's like a fake beer company
Oh,
in the Sims. In the Simpsons have a
Duff?
fake
Is it Duff?
Duff. I think it's Duff beer, and it's like drink Duff beer, yeah. It's
Yeah,
like and then you
America.
turn on and
America.
you're trying to have your moment of silence.
I'm
I
pretty sure it was
I
a
went to
September 11th. I'm pretty sure it's September
exactly,
11th.
and so it's like, and you're just sitting there going, and you're going, my God, why? How can you guys be so bad at your job?
Yeah.
Like at this point, you have to be so bad that you're intentionally trying to be bad, because you couldn't be this bad if you put up stuff on a dartboard and randomly threw darts at it to direct what you were going to do. There's no way that you would fall prey to so many stupid decisions. And and then they tell us that, oh yeah, but our stuff is worth it. It's like, no, it's not. Absolutely no, it's not. And again, when you compare it to Balatro, when you compare it to, of course Baldur's Gate 3, but when you compare it to a lot of the other indie titles that are out there, when you like, I'm really enjoying right now. I'm enjoying Mechabellum. Mechabellum is a game that I don't really like. I don't really focus on. It's basically just a battle chess thing. I don't play against other players. I play against the AI. I do survival mode, and it's the countdown timer between rounds is 9,999 seconds. So I can just leave it there in the middle of a round. I could just walk away from the computer, go do some stuff, like like you know, like you know, go to. I can't go to work, but because that's too long. But like I can literally step away. I can focus on stuff that I'm doing on the weekend, like the podcast or anything else, and it's like I can come back to it and I can play around at a time. And yeah, I don't have a ton of time to play games these days because I'm just so busy with all the other stuff, and I have absolutely zero time to play on the weekdays. Um, but it's like that respects my time and my interaction, and it's very cheap. Whereas what these other studios are demanding is they're demanding to consume all of my free time, to consume everything that I have the ability to play, to give me these battle passes where it's like, all right, you have to play at least 15 hours this week or you're going to fall behind, and oh no, FOMO, you're going to miss out, and oh dear, and then that just makes me quit playing, because it's like I can't get ahead, I can't do anything. I don't have the time to play anything, and it's killing it. And it's like, okay, then why would I pay $100 for that experience? It's like, oh, I'd rather play some of the other slop that's out there. Like legitimately, I'd rather play free to play slop than
I'm
some of these titles that are coming out that are promising me the moon for $100, and it's not even close to a real good experience. It's like, yeah, no, no, thank you.
yeah, like there's no way I'm paying $100 for a video game. That's not even going to like it's only gonna like keep me entertained for maybe a couple days. And that's another thing. That's another thing. An ex Starfield dev was saying that gamers are tired of 100-hour games.
No, they're not.
Now, a good example of this was when was it Cyberpunk 2077 came out, and the main campaign is like 4 hours. It's not even that long.
Yeah,
And they're like, oh, it's because no one wants to play the story for that long, and we're doing it for journalists, because they only have a limited amount of time to play the game. Only to find out later that they actually had this really overarching long story, but they wanted to make more content with Johnny Silverhand. So instead of Johnny Silverhand being like a one-off DLC that they originally planned for it to be, they made it the new uh, they made it the new campaign. So of course the storyline's only a couple hours because it was originally made for as a DLC, and they totally scrapped the main storyline that they spent years making because they wanted more
yeah,
Johnny
that's
Silverhand. Don't get me wrong, I love Keanu Reeves, but that knowing they did that annoyed me.
Yeah, so that people don't want to play 100-hour plus games yet. A quick glance-free look at the most played games as of right now, you have you have so much. There's so much. There's
Isn't
Baldur's Gate 3, there's Rust, and nobody plays Rust and doesn't put like 100, like 1,000 hours into that. PUBG Battlegrounds, same thing. Grand Theft Auto 5, same thing. Path of Exile 2, same thing. Marvel Rivals, same thing. Dota 2, same thing. Counter
I
Strike 2, again, same thing. I'm pretty positive there's nobody but bots playing Counter Strike 2 right now.
I'm really
If
getting
you
tired.
actively play Counter Strike 2, I'm sorry, I just insulted you.
Counter-Strike 2.
Um, you got you've got like all the sports games where people put so many hours into that, and they just keep playing that stuff like crazy. And you got Warframe, you got Civilization, you got Helldivers, you got yeah, all these games where it's like, yeah, no,
Yeah,
legitimately no.
I'm.
Like you like whoever is saying this is an idiot who doesn't understand
It's
gaming at all. Period.
it's like they're saying that gamers aren't interested in single player games, yet you see, was it God of War Ragnarok, literally around the time that this would happen years ago. They were trying to say that gamers are not interested in single player games anymore because they're trying to do that stupid propaganda of pushing live service games when it's proven time and again. Elden Ring, God of War Ragnarok, Baldur's Gate 3, all single player games, and everyone's sunk hours, multiple hours in all of those games. And then there's obviously other games like Metaphor, was it Final Fantasy? People have. I'm just getting sick and tired of these industry crooks.
Idiots.
I was
Sure.
gonna say I was stopping myself from saying the F word. These industry crooks telling me what gamers want. How about you just make a good product and then we'll decide if we want to buy it or not? How about that? They're like, oh, gamers aren't interested in single player. Gamers aren't interested. Gamers are interested in live service. Gamers are interested in microtransactions. Literally, no one has said this. No one has said that. Only you have said that. You're trying to control the narrative. You're trying to control the industry by saying what we want. You don't know what we want, obviously, because you're trying to push these things to convince gamers that this is what they want. No, this is not what they want. This is not what I want. I just want a good story, good gameplay, and well, I can't really say good graphics because literally I played mouthwashing and it looks like an old PS1 game, to be perfectly honest. All I want is a
Yeah,
good a good good story.
it's stylized, right? So
Yeah.
like that kind of stuff sticks around forever. So and that's totally okay.
Yeah, it's just like it was just a really good story. It was like a psychological thriller. It was so good. Well, I guess psychological horror. It was such a good game. Like you don't have to have pretty graphics for it to be a good game. And that's what I'm trying to make them understand. You don't need to put all these bells and whistles. You don't need to put all these freaking microtransaction like shops in these games. All you need to do is focus on quality storytelling and gameplay. That's all you need to focus on. That is it. But they're like going far over and beyond to try and monetize the heck out of it. How many games have had DLC? How many games have had DLC? When did DLC, downloadable content, when has that started to be a trend in the industry? That only became a trend because people actually bought into it. If people had actually stopped buying downloadable content, I think that trend would have died out a long time ago. Now, to be fair, I'm currently playing Warhammer 40k Rogue Trader. That's a CRPG, ARPG, and I'm having so much fun with it. Even though it does have like downloadable content, I'm fine with that. I'm fine. Okay, I guess you could say I'm a hypocrite because I'm fine with that. But it's getting kind of ridiculous to the point where it's like, why everything has downloadable content now. Everything has DLC now. Literally, I don't want to do this, but I kind of want to point it out. Starfield, how they purposely, they purposely cut out a certain mechanic in the game just so that they can sell it to you in a DLC. Like, are you freaking serious? Are you? Was it Azura's Wrath? They literally cut the last chapter of the game so that they can sell it to you as a DLC. You couldn't get the ending of the game until you paid for it. Like, are you? Is getting to the point where they're really monetizing the heck out of everything. And then you're telling me this was before inflation. This was before the inflation. How are you telling me now, oh, games are getting really expensive to make, guys? Oh, everything's getting, you gotta help these multi-billion-dollar industry guys. We're like not making money anymore, guys. Whose fault do you think that is? It wasn't my fault. I wasn't interested in buying your stupid, falling apart shoes. You were trying to sell me these shoes that are ratty, worn out. There's holes at the bottom. You're trying to sell me those? I ain't gonna buy it. I want sturdy, brand new, spanking new shoes. I don't care about really the design. I just want to make sure that it keeps my feet warm and that I can wear it and not get my socks wet when I step in a puddle. That's all I'm asking for. Do you understand what I'm saying? It feels like they're trying to like swindle me out of my money. And then they're going to try and guilt trip me. They're going to try and guilt trip me for not paying for their stupid stuff. Pardon me, sir. I'm not interested in your stupid stuff. You're going to have to try and convince somebody else. God, it just bothers me so much that they think that they can sway people. You can sway some people. You can sway a couple of people. You're not going to sway the whole freaking consumer base. That's not how this works. We pay for your stuff. You have to sell us something that we want to pay for. So far, you haven't done that. Like, they've been doing this for years now, where they push out a really beautiful trailer. They push out a really beautiful gameplay trailer. But then when you actually buy the game, it's potato. It doesn't work. The graphics don't render in properly. Things face through each other. There have been many glitches. Glitches are funny, but it's gotten to the point where games are so filled with glitches, it is literally unplayable. The games are literally unplayable. You can only get gaming industry. You can only get away with so many glitches. If there are 10 glitches every 5 seconds, your game is poop. All right? Your game is poop. Go back to the drawing board. No one's gonna buy this. All right? And that's why I'm getting also tired of the day one patches. The day one patches, dang it. That's a freaking trend where they're like, oh, we're going to ship the game out and we know it's bad. We know it's bad, guys. That's why we have this patch that's going to help fix the game. Why didn't you do that when it was still in development? Why are you pushing it out now? Why didn't you delay it until it was fixed? Are you freaking kidding me? Oh, it's because we promised you guys we were going to sell it at this time and we wanted your money. Of course. You guys pre-ordered it like dumb butts. Of course we wanted your money. Now here's a little band-aid to fix it. Are you freaking kidding me? This has happened so many times, people are sick and tired of it. People know now not to buy things until their favorite reviewer, game reviewer, specifically YouTubers and Twitch streamers, play the game first and get opinions from them first, because word of mouth apparently is going to make or break your game. And they think it's just, it has been going on for too long, guys. It has been going on for too long. And this actually also properly segues to another part of the segment that I was like very disappointed to learn about, but I've always wondered why games have been in such a sorry state for so many years. We found out that most of the AAA gaming companies outsource their games to foreign countries. And unfortunately, some of these foreign countries do not have the same regulations and the same workers' rights that is in other countries. And it kind of broke that one specific company that a lot of AAA games went to for outsourcing. I'm trying to remember some of the games that they worked on. They worked on Final Fantasy VII. They worked on Outlaws. Surprisingly, they worked on Outlaws. They also worked on other big title games, and this is where the we can we say the A B word, or is that gonna flag
Uh,
the stream?
yeah, that's where, yeah, abusive habits and allegations and some evidence and mostly allegations have come out saying that, hey, these guys are being so egregious that they're breaking laws and people are suffering because of them.
And people like to. What I'm disappointed about is that everyone was talking about crunch that happened in the gaming industry in America. I don't know if crunch was a thing that was discussed in Canada, but everyone was making it such a big deal in our countries that's like, okay, so crunch and abuse is happening in a foreign country, and the great gaming journalists are just quiet about it. No one's talking about it. No one's saying it's an issue now. And then it just goes to show like why games are such a bad quality now, because of the state of these these companies, these organizations that they outsource the games to. It is so bad. I actually watched a couple of videos talking about the abuse taking place in these outsourced companies. It was literally straight up a cult. It was literally straight up a cult. And the leader of this specific company, I totally forgot the name of it because it's been a while since I saw the videos. But the leader of this cult was like the wife of the director of the company or CEO of the company, and she would like force these coworkers to like pray like Christian prayers and pray to God and like have these morning masses and stuff, and they weren't even Christian. I'm trying to remember what country it was in. I think it don't. I could be wrong, but I did hear Singapore was mentioned, but I also heard Indonesia. So it was somewhere around there. Correct me if I'm wrong. And them being forced to do Christian prayers is the least of the abuse, guys. Is the least of the abuse. Some of the things I've heard, it was crazy, crazy. And what really broke the story was it's called the 100 slaps video, and that was just disturbing and disgusting. And the lady who was the leader of this cult would force the employees at this company to like do degrading things just cuz she could. And this was happening in the gaming industry, bro. This is linked to the gaming industry. And you think, like, and then it just goes to show, like, this obviously isn't, this is just one of the worst things that happened. If you actually look back at Ubisoft, which honestly, in my opinion, I think everything that's happening to Ubisoft is just karma coming back to bite them. Because I heard, wait, wasn't it also Blizzard who had like very big allegations against them because of
Yeah,
the
yeah. So they had a lot of allegations, and then they settled, and they settled for what equated to like half a day's pay,
half
not
a
half a day's pay,
day,
half a day's profits. So
half a
they did all
day's
these things that were like very egregious, very terrible, very unhealthy, very dangerous. They did that, and then they said, "Oh yes, we're so sorry. Here, we'll pay the fine," and the fine was half a day's. Was what Activision made in half a day.
all the things that are happening to these companies is just bad karma coming to bite them in the butt. Like this is just karmic justice at this point. Because holy crud, like you would think that did the abuse actually go away, or did it just get quieter? That's my question. It seems like it just got quieter, and I'm just like, you're supposed to make games. What is happening right now? Like what? Like this is so crazy to me. It's so crazy. Like, because you don't usually associate cults with that and with gaming industry. I'm like, what? You're just supposed to make games that people like
We,
meme on.
we,
What is happening?
there were a few. There's been a few things over the past like couple of years. There was stuff that's sort of like this, and so it's really again it's really just genuinely very very unhealthy, very very dangerous, and it's just awful. And it gets worse
The good
whenever
news,
these stories pop up, and yeah, so
yeah, the good news I will say, for those of you who want to know, the company that was doing these horrendous cultist abuse, the company went under. It is shut down. They are no longer making content and stuff. Thankfully. But I will say, unfortunately, the lady who was abusing these employees, she went to Hong Kong. She's in China. Authorities, she's in China. Go get her. Just she if you can try to get her, she's in China. Try to get her. Sorry, I'm just annoyed that she was not brought to justice. She literally grabbed all the money. She stole money from the employees. She literally gave them like one fifth of their paychecks, and she freaking took the money and fled to China. So I really hope
yeah.
that the authorities get her butt. All right,
Well,
like
and this is, I mean, this is what happens when you outsource a lot of stuff. But at the same time, a lot of this stuff that they're hiring these people to do are stuff that they could literally like, in some cases, not all cases, in some cases, like this is what AI is going to replace. There's a lot of graphical work that has a whole bunch of mind-numbingly painful stuff that doesn't really do anything and isn't really like noticeable, but you still have to do it, and it's tedious, terrible work. So yeah,
I mean,
yeah, it's pretty rough.
it's already stressful work, but like the cult stuff plus the like abuse from the higher ups does like it's already a stressful job. Plus that it's ridiculous. Like no wonder the game quality went down. Has and what's even more messed up is that these gaming companies like Ubisoft and Square Enix, they don't vet these companies that they're outsourcing to. They didn't have a representative come by and check out what was going on. Even if they did, it's one of those things where they're like, send a warning email. They're like, hey, we're gonna come by in a couple weeks, and then as abusers do, they're like, you better act right in front of the agent person who's coming around, and then like, do you know, I don't know. It's just I feel like this is so crazy to even think about because I don't normally associate this stuff with the gaming industry because it usually feels like it's just separated, you know. But it's just you would think that they would vet it better. You would think that they'd keep a tabs on the working conditions of these employees. You would think that they'd do a better job, but obviously not. They don't care, and that's what really disappoints me. Well, am I surprised that it's Ubisoft that doesn't care? Not really, because it's actually par for course, because they're a poopy company anyways. But it was like
Hmm.
you would think that like I don't know, like we had made such progress trying to make the gaming industry at least a little bit better. I I assumed that they would try to do the same in foreign countries. Silly me, I guess. Silly me for being optimistic about that. But hopefully now that the story's out, unfortunately it seems like only YouTubers are talking about it. No actual gaming journalists are talking about it because they don't want to upset the gaming companies who are involved with these outsourced companies. But the stories out there, people know now. Like, oh, I don't know. I wish it was more of a thing that people were talking about, but unfortunately, it's not. Which is also crazy to think about because we made such a big stink about crunch and treating workers better in America, but because it's in a foreign country, like, which is a foreign country, we don't care about that now. Like, it's just crazy to
Mhm.
think about now. Uh, Kisuke said if day one patches fix things, then they would be fine. I think that's not true. I think people would still complain about it because if it's a day one patch, why don't you just wait 1 day to patch the game and before releasing it? Because that makes no sense. Do you know what I mean? Like it doesn't make any sense. But yeah, like I hope that the story gets bigger. I hope the story gets out there more. I hope it will bring a precedent back where treating your employees obviously matters, treating your employees well. And like, I don't know, better uh sanction? I don't know. What is it? Like better keeping your eye on things better. Like obviously like background check these companies, make sure they're actually doing their job, making sure they actually treat their employees well. Like I don't know. Like hearing about this, it just makes me very disappointed. You would hope that these AAA companies have like big enough hearts to care enough to check up on these foreign employees, but I don't think they do. Which is sad to think about. I don't think they actually do care about these foreign employees because if they did, they would have, did a better job protecting them against this abuse. But they didn't because they don't care, just like they don't care
Yeah.
about their customers. So I can only hope now things will be different, but I don't know. They haven't they haven't been
Uh,
changed in
that
a
is a good
while, so
question. Yeah, like will are they actually capable of being better? And like a lot of these companies, they're in it for the absolute like they're in the marketing, they're in this experience to make money and to brutalize anybody who gets in their way. Essentially, that's what's going on. Because these particular companies, they don't have a reputation to maintain or protect. They just have bodies that they throw at problems until the problems are fixed. So you don't care where you get the bodies from. You don't care how long those people work. If you work them to the bone, chew them up, spit them out, that's the end of it. And you don't have to worry about, stuff going forward. So yeah, it is kind of messed up. Um, yeah, it really is kind of messed up, and I don't know what the answer to that is.
I can only hope it's led by example and you know companies treat their employees better and it becomes a thing where I don't even why does it have to become a thing to treat your employees better? Why is that a thing? Oh my god. Of course you're supposed to treat your employees better. What the heck? They help you make a product to sell. Of course you need good morale for your employees. Why like we don't Yeah, I don't know what the answer is either. Like it's just crazy. It's crazy insanity. And I feel like things have been going the way it's been going for years now, and times are changing. Things are coming to light. You can't hide it forever, guys. And like karma is a bee. Karma comes for you at some point. You can't keep running. You can't keep doing this stuff forever. You can't keep doing it forever, guys. It will catch up to you. And yeah, I hope the people involved who were bad get what they deserve. I hope the people who got hurt, I hope they find, peace, and I hope they can move on from this. I wish them well. They didn't deserve that. No, like no one deserves that. And yeah, um, that's why this is why this is why I wanted to save the case for later because this was just really heavy and it's just making me stressed out just thinking about it.
Yeah.
But
Well, unfortunately, this is in a lot of places. There's a lot of companies who treat their employees like this. Excuse me. Excuse me. Sorry. There's all kinds of companies who, they get behind they get this power, and then they're untouchable, and then they just do whatever they want. And
yeah,
again, there are companies that have a nasty record of doing stuff like this.
yeah,
And this is also why, like, I'm all for the free market, but you can't have a free and fair fight against somebody who uses slavery.
yeah, and that's essentially what
So
it is. It's just
yeah,
because they was it the amount of the US dollar is not the same amount in other countries. So you're essentially doing like very see this is why I also got confused of like where the money is going because you're paying for like essentially slave labor at like a very reduced cheap price. And it's like okay, so if it's cheaper, why is it so expensive? Like what is going on here? Like obviously like you're not I even got to the point where it's like, are game devs, are AAA game studios even making their own games now? Because they are so bad. Are they just all outsourcing? Then if they're all outsourcing, where is the hundreds of millions of dollars going? Because it seems like it's going straight to the higher ups and no and not even going to the game devs. So it's like what's going on here? Something fishy is going on here. And I wouldn't be surprised if it's like shown later on that they don't like pay that many devs to work on their games and even if they did, they just outsource it and most of it just goes in the pockets of the higher ups. I will not be surprised.
yeah. No, that is. I mean, again, this is the kind of scummy companies that do this kind of scummy stuff, and it's really, really terrible. And you ask yourself, why is this a thing? Like, this genuinely seems like very. I hate to say it, but like just straight up evil. It's like this is a Doctor Doom stuff. Is it Doctor Evil stuff? Yeah, Austin Powers. This is genuinely like some Doctor Evil stuff, and you go, yeah, seems a little crazy, and yet again, we won't have anybody deal with this because it's what they have to do to survive, guys. In order to keep games under $100, this is what we have to do to survive. Oh, and by the way, completely ignore all those indie titles that are creating games that are on par with ours, made by like 3 developers.
Oh gosh. Don't you yeah, like that how
Um,
sad is that? Like indie developers are making infinitely better games with not even that much work put in like not well I wouldn't say that much work put into it not that much manpower behind it and they're making these projects that are like $10 and they make millions and it's like oh what could AAA companies are like oh what could be possibly be going wrong that gamers prefer a $10 game made by indie studio and they don't want to pay for our $100 games. Oh gee, I wonder what it is. Why don't you actually listen to your customers and fix things instead of trying to like cuz it just goes to show like they blatantly ignore their own fan base. It has been proven time and again. They do not listen to their fan base at all. In fact, they get mad when you tell them you don't want specific things in the game. They get mad at you and say, you don't know what you're talking about.
right.
Okay, then I'm not buying your game. Obviously, I'm not. Obviously, you're being very aggressive and I'm not interested now. It's a turn off. It's a turn off, guys. Being aggressive with your customer base because they don't like certain things in your game, like, is no, it's not attractive, guys. that also that actually swings us back to Bioware. So for the longest time, Bioware has been losing quality in their games for a while now, for a while. And honestly, I think the main game
Like,
that showed the quality slipping was Inquisition.
yeah, I was gonna say, so Inquisition was not um the absolute worst. It was comparatively, it's like it's a fairly popular game that had a lot going for it, but it really didn't have a lot going for it until they did hit um one of their major DLCs. Then after that, you had this time period where the game was really good, and people really did enjoy it. But ultimately, when you do look at it now, like, again, in comparison, it's it's not as good as other titles that you have. And like, it's good, it's just not where they could have taken the game going forward. Like, and I say this for sure, like 100% for sure, the Dragon Age um games have never lived up to what they could be, aside from the first one. The first one came out, it was amazing. All they had to do was to make a second game, slightly upgrade the graphics, and keep basically everything the same, except for improve the way that the UI handled, because the UI was terrible. But it
But
was so
then
good.
but
But
then
then they said, "Hey, it's got to be an action game. Action game is what's going to make this game good." And that
EA
was
said,
EA. Yeah, yeah, that was EA sticking their nose into something and flailing around like an absolute
"Oh hey, you
idiot.
have you have only 14 months to work on the game." Might we
Yeah,
add, you only have 14 months. Might
yeah,
I
and
also add that in that 14 months, the game is was it I was going to say Baldur's Gate 2. Dragon Age 2, that game, that story is so good, and they did that all in like less than a year or two. That's
yeah.
crazy. That goes to show how much talent was behind the studio, cuz the game is still like the story is still so good. Yeah, they reuse maps, and yeah, you can only play as a human character, but the storyline was so good, the quest lines were so good. It just goes to show how talented they were. But then Inquisition came out. But then Inquisition came out.
Yeah.
And Inquisition was just I feel like
It,
it
it
lost potential.
it was one of those games that had potential, but you could definitely tell that they were slipping.
Yeah, like
And then the
the antagonist felt very one-dimensional. Like,
mhm.
yeah, he was an ancient mage during the was it the Deventer Imperium taking over most of the world. So he's a figure of his time. So he's like, why aren't you all guys bowing to me? I am a magister. I am a mage from Deventer. You should all bow to me. I am your lord and master. So he has that going for him, but we don't learn much about him. He's just we're like, oh, he worships a dragon as a god. He's bad. Go get him, guys. And it's like, I feel like they could have like fleshed him out more. We have
Oh,
to
definitely.
we had to foil his plans here and there. Like, he said some
And
interesting
that's I
stuff,
and I,
but
and I would say that that is one of the great sins of EA and BioWare when it comes to the Dragon Age games. They made far too many games, and they covered way too much content and directions. Every game they're like, let's reset everything. And it's
yeah,
like, or not. Like, here's a crazy wild conspiracy level idea. Maybe we don't cover everything. Maybe we cover what the players originally signed on to play. And the fact that you just had like the dark spawn just basically never were, a thing to like worry about. It's like, yeah, they didn't want to
they
like get in a habit of
that's the
repeating
anno-
stuff over and over and over again.
well, that's the annoying
But
part. The darkspawn are a threat. they are a threat. Like what
Yeah,
people
they're
got
always a
annoyed
threat, but they're not.
what people got annoyed about was that over time they became less of a threat. And it's like,
Yeah,
and then went to the part where it's like it feels like they're non-existent now. Like
yeah,
they're just an enemy to defeat. And it's like they were a horde of monsters that overwhelmed a king's army. Where did that go? Where did that go? And not only that, in Dragon Age 2, if you're not careful, you can get poisoned by their blood. Like, they are a blight on the world, quite literally. Where is that threat? I don't feel it in Inquisition, and I'm pretty sure people didn't feel it in Veilguard, which I'm actually, I for a split second there, I actually forgot Veilguard even existed for a second. But yeah, Veilguard, the Darkspawn weren't that much of a threat either. They're just a enemy type, which is so annoying. Like, and it reminded me of the Elven God fights in Veilguard. I've seen them. They are so bad. The fights are so bad. You a dragon head comes out and it tries to bite you, and then the dragon's head falls. It's like trying to bite you like a snake, but then it falls on the ground, and so you just whack it with your sword like 5 times, and then the dragon head gets up and then tries to bite you again, and it falls on the ground, and so you have to hit it 5 times in the head with your sword. It's repetitive.
The boss design
And they're
is
like,
terrible.
so that's bad. One dragon head. How are you gonna fight 2 dragon heads? And you're like, oh well, I'm just gonna smack it really hard 5 times because it's the same repetitive thing. And it's like, oh yeah, 2 dragon heads. What about 3? And it's the same thing. You just hit it really hard with 5 times with a sword. And it's like, what? I'm like, who designed this? Who thought this was a good boss fight? Do you know what a good boss fight was? In Dragon Age 2, you go to a stupid Orlesian noble's mansion, right? Yeah, it was making a parody of Assassin's Creed, where you have to like sneak around the mansion at night, which was kind of stupid and kind of annoying. But if it was a parody, I can see what they were trying to do if it was a parody. But if they honestly thought people would actually like that, no, it was not fun. But once you get past it, and you get past the BS, was it extra companion you have in was it the Shadow of the Assassin? I think the DLC is called. Once you get past this stupid storyline with the assassin chick you meet, and you actually get to the boss fight with the noble, he shoots mines at you. That detonate. If you don't step on them, they will detonate in your face. And they are such a tight, intricate pattern that he throws them at you. You have to run for your life or you will freaking die. And I loved that boss fight. Do you know what was also a good boss fight? Fighting Corypheus in the Legacy DLC of Dragon Age 2. That was a very intense boss fight. Granted, when I first played it, it was very intense. I actually liked the different patterns you had to, because like, he used different elements to change the environment. So you had to like go around carefully through the environment while also taking out these idols that gave him power at the same time. It was very intense. You had to like always be on your toes. That was a good boss fight. And then you have the freaking dragon fight in Veilguard, where the dragon just tries to bite you. You can easily dodge it, and then it just lays down for you to hit it. And then you do that for like 3 or 4 dragon heads.
There's so much.
This is a god. I want to cry.
About that,
this is a god, guys. We're fighting a god. The other 2 boss fights I was talking about, it was literally a noble who got too big for his britches, and the other guy was just an old mage dude. Alright? It was just an old mage guy. We're fighting a god. I didn't feel like we were fighting a god. Like the at least in the things going for Assassin's Creed Origins, you fought literal gods. You fought Anubis, dude, and you felt like you were a tiny speck fighting an actual god, and that's what I actually appreciated about Origins. And then you have freaking Veilguard. You're just smacking dragons on the face. Like, what the heck is going on? So, are you surprised? Are you surprised that Veilguard lost like 50% of expectations?
I'm not
They
surprised at all. Like I called this a while ago. It's like, nah, like Bioware is dead. Has
now
been dead for a very long time. Has been dead since the end of Inquisition. Really, is was the it was the end of Inquisition. That was when the game died. That was when everything fell on its face because the next thing you got was Anthem.
oh god.
Oh my god, do we remember how bad Anthem was? And people defend it. People go, "Oh, it wasn't that bad." No, it was definitely that bad. It was definitely
they
terrible.
they didn't know what type of game they were making until the trailer was released for the game. The devs did not know what game they were making until they released the trailer for the game at the Game Awards,
I remember.
at a game
I
show.
remember. So I talked to one of the devs at Bioware who doesn't work there anymore, and he said he was watching the trailer with their team, and after they got done watching the trailer, they all kind of looked at each other and they were like, "Is can we actually do this? Like
Oh god.
the engine can't do the things that we just watched it do." And they're all like, "Well, I mean, somebody's got to be working on an upgrade to the engine, right?" And they're all looking around going, there's no way this can run. Like there's no way this can run. Period. What in the world is going on, guys?
And
Like it just terrible.
and then the one thing that people were interested in was the flying mechanic. They limited that. You can only fly for a limited amount of time. You can't even stay in the sky, and people got annoyed about that because they thought you could be Iron Man. You could be Iron Man in a fantasy setting, and they're like, no way. But then you can't even fly for that long. So it's like, what was
Yeah.
the point of that? And then so let's go to Veilguard because that's the main controversy right now is everyone talking about Veilguard and losing their minds over it. So Veilguard was, it turns out, they didn't Veilguard surprisingly didn't meet expectations.
Oh,
I forgot.
no, don't say that. Oh my goodness, how could we have missed this? How could so many people not be interested in this dumpster fire of a game? I don't understand. This is absolutely shocking. Yes, no, it's not shocking at all, guys. Like nobody listening to us right now was like, "Oh yeah, no, I was totally expecting it to like just smash it out of the park and become like the new greatest thing ever." It's like especially not when you drill down onto it. They haven't been hiring almost anybody for ages. Most of their core team that helped create a lot of the older Bioware games, they're all gone except for a handful of people left there. Um, the like EA has just been like blaming them for basically everything that they themselves like. It was EA's stupid leadership that said, "Hey, make this game different, make that game different, make this game different. Hey, why are your games screwing up? Why aren't people buying so many of your games anymore?" Well, I don't know. Maybe it's because you made us change everything that people loved about them, and maybe you made us go back to the drawing board so many times, and also the leadership was stupid. The whole idea behind Anthem from the get go was just like was just like stupid. I want to say a bunch of nasty words about it, but
Now,
the people who were behind the idea of that game, it's like you didn't know what you were doing at all. Period. And then the fact that the most powerful gun in the game was actually the gun that you started out with. and they didn't figure that out for like quite a while. It's like every time you got an upgraded gun and you equipped it, your power, your damage went down every time you did that, because not only was the game just not well made, the whole point of the game was just a nothing experience.
Oh yeah,
And
sorry.
yeah.
I remember how people were talking about like if you play Veilguard, there's no real conflict between characters because they all have
Mhm.
like different personalities, they have different motivations, they have different hobbies and stuff, and different ideologies and all that. And so there's no real conflict. And I was like, okay, people talk about it. But then I saw a cutscene where the dragon lady Tosh and the necromancer dude Emmerich are literally arguing with each other because I don't know, Tosh said something about dragons, and then Emmerich's like, well, something about necromancy, and then Tosh is like, necromancy's different against dragons and stuff. It's not the same thing. And then literally Rook, the main character, is sitting between them, and he's like, guys, Emmerich, Tosh really likes dragons. That means that you should respect that she likes dragons. And Tosh, Emmerich, likes necromancy. That means you should respect his culture's respect for necromancy. And I was like, oh my god, they were right. Oh my god, yeah, Rook is literally a therapist for these people, and everyone's like,
Yeah.
oh, like
Rook is
it,
Rook is the whole
and
story
he's like, how do you feel
basically.
about that, Tosh? How do you feel about that? I'm like, what? That was literally therapist talk. What the fuck? What the fuck? I
It's
thought we were
it's an
supposed to be
H
friends. Are you paying
it's
me
an
for your
HR
hours? Are you paying
it's
me?
an HR simulator. That's what it is. It's entirely an HR simulator. There's nothing, like, the game is just like babysit people who are children, who act and behave like if they did that in like, that act and behave in terrible ways, to like, and not in like the cool ways that, it's like, oh, this guy's like, this guy's got like a demon on his shoulder, and this other guy's got like this sword that's trying to brainwash him, and they're on like, this mission where it's like, do or die, like, no, there's none of that depth, that interest, that intrigue, that hard hitting content. No, 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 no. It's all about children. Children thinking that they're all that, and a bag of potato chips. It's like, ah,
It's yeah, I and then you have the director of Bioware who blatantly said she actually did, the infamous scene of Tosh telling her mom that she's non-binary.
yeah,
The director came out and said, yeah, that was based on her actual experience of coming out to her parents. And I was like, oh wow, I guess it didn't really go well, did it? Because she was like, I'm trans, and then she's like, what does that mean? And she's like, you don't ever accepted me. You know what I mean? Like, I don't think that conversation went well if the game scenario was anything to go by. And then she wanted
yeah.
to project her trauma and her feelings onto the game. And then, well, guess what happens when Veilguard. Now, I wanted to point out that Veilguard did not meet expectations in player count. Now, I want you guys to understand. They said Veilguard did not reach expectations of the player count, which was 50%. Or was that sale copies? I can't remember. But I want you guys to know that's the highest number that they're telling investors. So out of all the metrics they could have used, copies sold, uh copies sold, like the money that they made on this game. No, it's the player count that was not the expected amount. And if you actually look at the player count, the highest peak was 59,000, I think. And then the concurrent current players was like maybe 200. Like daily was 200. And they said that it didn't reach expectations by 50%. Meaning, so if we're talking about like the numbers said like 1.5 million, so they were expecting 3 million. And I want you guys to know that companies are highly whoa, I'm making a whistling sound. What the they're highly arrogant, and they like to overestimate their numbers. So originally, if Veilguard came out like maybe 5 years ago, they'd estimate it would make a $10 million profit. Their numbers would be like, oh, it'd be 10 million consecutive players daily. The fact that they projected the numbers to be 3 million is not good. It is not good. Those are penny numbers to a multi-million-dollar company. That just proves they did not have high expectations this game was going to sell. If their player count was 3 million, that, and even then I could have told you that that is like really overestimating the player counts. But for a company, when it comes to figures, 3 million is nothing. 3 million is not where if to make a profit. They were hoping it'd be enough to maybe turn a profit, but obviously that's not what happened. The writing was on the wall that they did not have confidence in this project was when someone said, Luke Stevens, I think his name is, he's a YouTuber. I watched his review on Veilguard, and he said the sign that showed that they did not have confidence in Veilguard as a product was when they stopped certain people from getting access to reviews. Yeah. And I'm like, oh no, oh Steven, no, oh Luke, you're not a big fan. You haven't been watching this stuff from day one. You haven't been paying attention since day one. Ever since they made Project Joplin, you have not seen what I've seen. The moment that told me that they were very unconfident with this product was when they changed the name. Well, obviously, not only was that, but it went under development hell, stop and restart for many years. Meaning, which people are fighting me on this for some reason, and I don't understand why. But Veilguard technically hasn't been in production for more than maybe three or 4 years, which isn't a lot of time. Maybe 3 years, maybe 2 years, if I'm being like very was it very bad? Oh God, I'm losing words in my head.
Yeah,
but if I'm being,
I get what you're saying. Yeah,
like this game did not sit in the oven for that long, and people are like, oh, it's been in development for 10 years, 8 years, 7 years. And I was like, no, honey, this project has been stopped and restarted many times. So technically, it hasn't even been in development for that many years. Yeah, they reused some stuff, but that was during the live service phase. But even then, it's like, I don't think they put that much. You can tell with the poor writing. And even then, the good writing was from the original people who worked on Joplin. Well, sorry, I'm getting ahead of myself. What I'm trying to say is that the warning signs were there of them not being confident in this product was the fact that they stopped and started this product like 4 times. 4 times. Not only that, but then 2 weeks before the game's trailer even came out, before they even announced the game, they changed the name from Dragon Age Dreadwolf, which is a kick butt name that they just wasted. Everyone liked Dragon Age Dreadwolf, but they decided to change it from Dragon Age Dreadwolf to Dragon Age the Veilguard, and no one liked that.
As I understand, the primary person behind that decision was one of the leaders,
the director,
who was like, I want this to be my story.
Yeah, I'm gonna make a guess. I'm gonna make a guess about the director of Bioware, Montreal. Was it Montreal?
I am so important. I'm so smart. You
I
don't
mean,
understand. I am so smart. I am so wise, and I am the thing that this industry needs, and I'm gonna make the change on this. I'm exaggerating a little bit.
I know,
Obviously,
but we know. Yes, I agree with you. I agree with you. That's what it smelled like. That's what it smelled like. They're like, we want to focus on the companions. I wonder what companions they were specifically meaning. And then the director comes out and says, "Oh, Tasha's story is similar to my story of how I came out." And I'm like, "Oh, you don't say. You don't say."
shocker.
Just a vanity project, honestly.
Yeah. It's the vanity of like self inserts,
Yep.
and again the it is honestly so bad to have that as just a thing that constantly like comes back, that points at the failure of games as a whole. Like it's just there's this idea, there's this concept, there's this feeling that people have where they want everything to go exactly the way that they in the way that they want it to go, and they feel that they have a right to like demand and insist and control that kind of a thing. And it's just like,
What I wasn't expecting, like I knew Veilguard was gonna fail. Everyone knew Veilguard was gonna fail. Even though some people are saying, "Hey, Veilguard, actually, the writing isn't that bad. It is too late. The it's too late. The everyone saw the clips. Everyone saw the writing on the wall. The reputation was ruined. I mean, maybe later down the line, people will actually give it like more of a chance and be open minded to it. Maybe I don't know. It's a strong maybe because people had it was it people went back to play Dragon Age 2. And for those of you who don't know, Dragon Age 2 was actually very controversial and didn't actually make the sales that they wanted.
yeah,
And
because
people,
it was such a shift from the previous experience.
yeah, and
Like
everyone said it was
when I
bad and
played,
it was terrible.
yeah, when I played Baldur's Gate 3, I feel like I'm playing the continuation of Dragon Age Inquisition.
Yeah,
And again, how they moved away from that as a concept and said, well, CRPGs just really aren't making the money that. It's like, what are you smoking? Where did
yeah.
you come from to think that this is not an accurate representation of the gaming industry? Who told you this? And then, oh, shocker, a bunch of dum dums told you this.
Yeah, that's what I love about
uh,
Baldur's Gate 3. It felt like this is what Inquisition should have been. This is what this is what should have been coming out of Bioware, but instead it was Larian Studios. But I'm not really angry about that. I've had I'm not mad that Larian actually has the talent to make good games. That's not what I'm mad about. I'm mad that BioWare lost that talent, you know? That's what I'm
yeah.
disappointed in.
Well, I mean, they lost the talent because they lost the people. The people that are good at making those games, they are in other places making other things that we're going to see very shortly.
Oh yeah.
And now there are some that kind of failed, like Casey's studio imploded, and then one of the other studios imploded, and that's just the drying up of finances. And again, I think they gave up way too soon. Like legitimately, they just like, oh, I guess it's over, guys. We can't make video games anymore. And I really dislike that. I honestly dislike the way that they keeled over and whined and complained and cried and said, oh no, we can't make games anymore. It's like have you thought about crowdfunding? Like
Yeah.
you didn't even showcase what you were working on. You didn't even try to do crowdfunding. And the truth of the matter is that people are more than willing. They are begging
That's what happened with Larian.
for a chance to let us show you what we can, let us support you. If you can make a good game, please let us support you. We want to support you. We want to make your games a success. We want to have this high probability of long-term success. But for whatever reason, the stupidity, of like barking crazy people are like, oh no, that's not what's going on. That's not how you make games. It's like, oh really? Because Larian did that and it worked.
Yeah, like
So
they were literally about to be dude. Hearing Larian Studios like rise to fame is crazy because they were on the brink of bankruptcy. They had no money, and they were like kind of, they didn't want to do this, but they were like, okay guys, we actually don't have money to fund this project. Would you, our fans, mind helping us make this project? And they broke the funding numbers because people really were interested in funding their projects, and because that they crowdfunded these specific projects, Divinity Original Sin, Divinity, they were able to make Divinity Original Sin 2, and then they made Baldur's Gate 3. Like, and now they're like one of the top, which I was gonna say like AAA studios. They're not really a AAA studio. They're like a double A studio. But
no, Larian's a AAA studio now.
well,
They
yeah, now
weren't when they
now
weren't when they made yeah, they weren't when they started to make, but in the later seasons of them making that game, they 100% became a AAA studio, in the most brilliant ways, because one of the biggest and coolest things about Larian is that they now, like, their studio doesn't stop. They have studios all over the world, and the work and progress on working on a title starts in them, like, it 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 doesn't start or stop. It's just continuous, because as one studio is wrapping up work for the day, they're passing on that work to a different studio, and then that studio is passing work on to a different studio, and by the time they're done, the original team is back at it again. And it's a brilliant way of doing stuff, because it answers a lot of problems that studios have, and it just makes everything generally better. And the question is, and the goal is, and the the best answer that you can come up with is to just, is to keep working on this stuff, to keep pumping it out, to keep making it better, and we've, like, they're kind of, they're leading the way in it, whereas the rest of the big studios, the rest of the big AAA's, they've forgotten how to fast track this kind of stuff, and they don't have leadership who can say, no, we're not going to have 15 meetings about what color the person's socks should be, with like a all hands meeting. And I've heard from developers, I've heard from people saying, look, this is a nightmare. We are having 10 meetings about something that doesn't matter, that isn't on the mind of any single gamer anywhere, and it's glorified preach sessions, or it's glorified, in the worst case scenarios, it's glorified struggle sessions. And it's like, okay, this is not helpful. This is not conducive to making a good product. This isn't conducive to creating anything in the long term. This is conducive to insanity. Period.
yeah. Well, I'm just you'd think that people would just come to terms that, like, okay, this isn't working. What can we do to make things better? It's not that simple, unfortunately. Like, they're like, it just seems like they refuse. I feel like the gaming industry is just saturated with arrogant, egotistical, fart smelling a-holes.
That scene from South Park.
It's just
I love
ridiculous.
it.
Like, they
I
just
love it so much.
refuse to admit that they're in the wrong. They refuse that, hey, maybe we should change course. Maybe we should actually listen to customers. No, the customers are wrong. I know what's right. I know
The
what will
customers
actually
are
sell.
always wrong. Yeah, no. And that is, again, that is the this absolute abject failure of
The customer is
of
right in the matters of taste. That's the
yeah,
original quote. The customer isn't always
yeah,
right, but the customer is always right in the matter of taste.
yeah. And so so we just have a lot of stupidity, and unfortunately this is definitely claimed Bioware. There's no coming back from this, because everybody that had the
Uh,
ability to bring them back from this has been out and gone from the studio for well, forever now, basically.
Speaking of, do you think, now this is just speculation, do you think this is going to affect BioWare as a whole? Or do you think that they're going to bring old devs back into the
No,
fold?
no, because all the old devs that could make a change, they aren't there anymore. Like, they're not available anymore.
Mm.
I mean, there are some who could come back, especially now that recently there's been a couple studios closed down. Um, there is that opportunity, but we're at the point now where I don't think it's feasible. Um, and it could be. I won't be surprised if Casey Hudson takes the job back at BioWare again to man the helm for the next Mass Effect. I wouldn't be surprised, but I doubt it. It's like, oh, okay, well, if I saw that, I would be convinced that EA is actually serious about BioWare surviving. But I really don't think that's the case. I genuinely don't think that's the case. In a very cynical way, that EA is too stupid to know what a good thing is. They're too incapable of understanding
Oh yeah, they've
what.
killed their golden gooses before. It's
Oh
a
yeah, no, they've killed dozens of golden gooses. They've left a dozen IPs rot into absolute stagnation, where nothing is even remotely possible to resurrect this stuff. And they've done that repeatedly over and over and over and over again, because you don't have people who love games, who love IPs, who care about characters manning the helms. You have people who are like, bottom line must go up. Red number, like the not red usually means, like, bankrupt, but like, they want to see the stock number rise every single time. There is a way to do that that just consumes everything and burns it in an incinerator. It's like, you can do that. You lose everything, and ultimately you will run out of everything to burn. But that's a tomorrow problem. That's not a today problem. That's a problem that comes in
uh,
tomorrow.
you
That's
remember
for somebody
Xbox?
else to fix.
You remember Xbox where they Hi-Fi, I think it's called, the studio
Hi-Fi
that
Rush.
Hi-Fi
Yeah.
Rush, the studio that made Hi-Fi Rush, and then after they won like actually like won a prestigious award for their game,
Hmm.
Xbox closed their studio down, and then there was such massive backlash that Xbox brought the studio back. Remember that, guys? Remember that, how that happened?
Like, did
That
they, did
happened.
they actually bring? They didn't bring the
Oh no,
studio
yeah.
back, did
Yeah,
they?
they did. It was in the
They
news.
did.
Yeah, they were like, "Hey, you guys remember that they dismantled the studio that made Hi-Fi Rush? They actually brought it back because they realized they made a mistake." I was like, "No, duh. No, no way. Of course. Yeah, yeah, you made a mistake closing down the company, or not company, the department that actually made you money. They made you money, Xbox." I don't know. It felt like
It
such
was,
an
it
EA
was,
thing to
it
do.
was Tango GameWorks. Tango GameWorks saved.
Yeah.
I guess. Oh, no, no, no. Tango GameWorks has been acquired by Crafton Inc.
Oh.
So uh Microsoft didn't, like,
Oh,
it
they didn't
got
bring it
bought
back.
out. Yeah,
Uh.
it's the publisher who publishes PUBG.
Mm.
So it's not, Microsoft didn't save them.
Oh, never mind then.
Crafton saved them.
Oh, I
Yeah.
didn't say
Which,
save.
which
I
is
wouldn't
which
say
is which is
save. I
still,
thought they just brought it back.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
That's for giving Xbox way too much credit. Save.
Right.
But yeah, it's just, well, there you go. Like it's not just EA that does it. It's also Xbox that does it. God damn it, Xbox! What are you doing? What are you doing, Xbox? But good
Yeah,
thing.
and I mean, that is extraordinarily unfortunate that we've had game titles like this that have gotten eaten and destroyed
Well,
over stupidity.
now not Bioware, but like Dragon Age is one of the titles that went down in infamy. Now we're just waiting to see what's gonna be of Mass Effect 5, and I everyone's expectations are very low, and
Yeah,
everyone's very confident, which is something that we shouldn't be confident in, but this is where we're at now. Everyone's confident that if Mass Effect 5 fails, BioWare as a studio will be killed
yeah,
or will be, dissolved. And
yeah,
I thought that if that ever happens, I thought EA would be okay because they have their microtransaction games of like sports stuff. Only to find out that not only did Veilguard fail, but FIFA, they've been losing money on FIFA. And it's like really been dragging their stocks down to 6 billion. And that really surprised me because that was their it's silly me. We were just talking about Golden Goose. I was like, that's their Golden Goose. Like, that was what was keeping them afloat. That's why they were
yeah,
able to throw money
yeah.
around.
FIFA. Oh, yeah, I'm
Who knew that they.
I hate that
I
franchise so
hate it
much.
too. They literally just reuse assets and then enhance the graphics. And then they're like, hey guys, it's a new game. It's like you're just using the same mechanics. Nothing's new. Except they add ads. You remember that, guys? They're adding ads to video games now for that revenue, you know? Jesus. Jesus Cristo. What is gaming turning into, bro? But now they're losing money. And what I'm surprised, like, what really surprised me was the numbers. Like, it wasn't even millions in stocks. It was billions. Oh, sorry. Hopefully I didn't actually peek the mic too much. It was billions.
No, you're fine.
Billions in
Yeah, yeah, no,
stocks. Stocks.
the complete and total loss is just again it is so shocking that legitimately it kind of makes me sick, right? It legitimately makes me feel ill when I see what's kind of going on and everything, and it just like I just feel gross, you know. It legitimately feels gross. You're just like, okay, yeah, this is a complete and total gong show
Yeah, it's
of
just
epic proportions. Blah blah blah. Because the failure of these companies is so much more than what we see. It's so much more than what we see. It's so much more than what we can feel, looking at the industry as a whole. It is a complete and total destruction of IPs, of beloved IPs. Again, at the cost of burning it in an incinerator to get as much heat out of it as you can. It's like you plant, the doctors who founded BioWare. They're sitting there. They're building and designing this studio. They make these amazing games. They make Never Winter Nights, and then they step back and they go, oh, this is beautiful. Look at this beautiful orchard. That if you tend to this orchard, you'll get unlimited apples for the rest of for the rest of time. If you just take care of the orchard and you take care of the land, it's just gonna. And then they sell it to a company who comes in, and then the doctors come by one day and they go, I wonder how the orchard's doing. I don't know. Let's go take a look at it. They pull up and they see a bunch of guys with chainsaws, and they're cutting down the trees, and they're like, what are you guys doing? And they're like, oh, you see, we're cutting down those trees and we throw them into the incinerator over there, and that heats up the boiler, and the boiler makes electricity, and then we sell the electricity to random people. It's like, why don't you just sell the apples to random people? Well,
no one wants
the
apples.
the
Who wants
papers on
apples?
everything on paper says that if we burn the trees, we make more money. It's like, yeah, but you have a limited supply of trees. What happens when you burn all the trees? You absolute dinguses. Oh well, then we move on to another thing. It's like,
I am not excited for Mass Effect 5 because every time you know what I was excited for? You know what I was excited for? I was excited for Veilguard. I was
Mhm.
excited for Veilguard. And then it was what everyone said it was going to be. It was going to be a sucky game. And look and behold, it was a sucky game. So I do not have high hopes. I think Mass Effect 5 is not going to live up to the original trilogy because nothing ever lives up to the original anymore. So I could be wrong, but something tells me I'm not. I think Mass Effect 5 is going to fail. I think this is me speculating. Of course, it's not like insider info, but this is just me speculating. I don't think Mass Effect 5 is gonna reach the numbers that they need. It definitely isn't because their stock prices already went down the gutter. So there's no way you're not coming back from that. Mass Effect 5 is gonna fail. As everyone expects, because everyone's
Mhm.
expecting it to, and when the expectation's that low, I don't think you can dig yourself out of it. Uh, I'm actually surprised that the director just left after Veilguard's failure. Everyone's like, "Oh, the game
Uh,
was so
I
good.
totally
The
I
game was
totally
so
forgot
good."
to
We
I forgot to mention this.
we
So
guys, the game did so well. The games did so well. The director left Bioware.
yeah.
That's how you know how you know it was very successful.
So I forgot to mention this. But yeah, you're right. So the game director has stated that they have an opportunity at an even bigger to make an impact on an even bigger series. And I
Oh
was thinking, I'm
God.
like, okay, so
They worked
are
on
you telling
Sims.
me
They worked on Sims 4 before this. You know, Sims 4 that has like over $1,000 worth of downloadable content. That was their experience before they came to Veilguard.
um yeah, so they're saying that they're going to an even bigger I think they said or they recorded as saying an RPG
Oh God,
franchise. And it's
Jesus.
like okay, so like what would that be? Like Fable,
I would expect.
maybe
I would expect Fable.
uh
Fable seems to be going down that road, if you know what I mean.
right. So like are they going over to like so like I'm just trying to think of all the big RPGs. Like there's a whole bunch of Japanese RPGs like obviously Final Fantasy, you got um Dragon
There's
Quest, you've got
there's Indiana Jones. Oh wait, maybe
no no
not
no
that.
no like no like long running RPG franchises. It's that with multiple games under the belt. It's
Did you
like I'm
guys know
thinking about it.
The Indiana Jones game came out? Did you know that? I didn't know that. It came out and it released. They thought it was gonna they thought it was gonna really get good numbers, but it had the typical modern day BS in it, where it's like, oh, he has like a female companion, and it turns out she takes over most of, well, I wouldn't say most of the game, but she pretty much tells Indy that he's not
Take
doing
a back
stuff
seat.
right.
Take
Yeah,
take a back seat. Take a back seat.
take a
She
back
she
seat, old
knows what's
man.
going. She knows what's going on better. She knows what's going on better. She's way better. She's way better at doing this hero thing than he is. Look, I love female protagonists. My book series is based around a female protagonist. You guys are doing it wrong. You are doing it wrong. You are doing a massive disservice to games as a whole, to games with female protagonists as a whole, by giving them essentially hand me downs and not developing the stories like intelligently for them. You're doing it wrong. Stop doing it wrong. It's absolutely disgusting.
Look,
It drives me absolutely mental.
I like competent female characters. Trust me, I've read a lot of romances with female leads. And don't get me wrong, some of the female leads are very dumb because they just look. Okay, let me give you an example. Like, I read, I read like the first 10 chapters of this not very well known, haha, not very well known book called The Ritual, and it was about this this college. It takes place in a college, and the main chick like hears all these rumors about this fraternity, and she's like, what I can't stand is the writing, it's so bad, but she hears that the fraternity does bad things, and this one chick who went to one of the to this bad fraternity's party never came back to school. And she's like, I want to go to that fraternity party. And I'm like, you hear all these rumors that bad things happen.
Okay.
You hear all these rumors that these bad things happen. Drugs, smecks, all the bad things. And then you hear all these rumors.
I love your definition.
and then
Drugs.
I don't know if I can say that. I'm trying to censor myself, but it's
I know.
But like you hear all these bad things going on in this fraternity, and then you hear that something happened to a chick so badly that she could not come back to school, and you're like, yeah, I should go to that party.
Yeah,
weird things happen. Weird things. I heard they kidnap chicks. Maybe I should go to that party. I'm like, are you stupid? Oh my god. And it's like,
now to be fair, and I do honestly hate to say this. Unfortunately, there are people like that. Unfortunately, there are people who are like,
I know. It's just when you're reading a fictional story, you can only suspend your disbelief so much.
I can make a choice that completely ruins my life and gets me hooked on drugs. Oh my goodness, yes.
Yeah, I know. Like, in my fictional dumb romance story.
Mm-hmm.
It's supposed to be fiction. Come on, like, okay, well, actually, never mind. Whatever. I'm not making a good case for fiction. I've read. Look, what I'm saying is, I've read a lot of romance fiction involving female leads that are stupid, and I'm like, okay, yeah, sure. But then you have video games that have female leads that are aggressive, unlikable, and when people say unlikable, they mean they're very catty, sarcastic, and rude. They're not sarcastic in a cute, fun way. They're sarcastic and annoying, I'm going to smack you in the face if you don't stop your attitude kind of way. And I can say that because I'm a woman, all right? And I can say that because I'm a woman. But there are some characters I just want to smack because they just are not likable. They are not. Forspoken is a good example because she is so antagonistic to people who help her, bro. She's antagonistic to a little girl who gave her a flower crown. Make that make sense. She gives attitude. She doesn't want to show that she likes a little girl because she has trauma. You don't know what she's been through, guys. She's had a cruddy life, guys. So that just justifies you being an a-hole to a little girl who gave you a flower crown? Really? You're gonna be mean to that nice pretty lady who helped you escape from prison. You're gonna give her attitude? Are you freaking kidding me?
And I legitimately do wonder, like legitimately, I really do wonder, where did this come from? Where did the idea come from?
Being nice is a weakness. Being nurturing is a weakness. Being feminine is a weakness.
Yeah, like that, and the idea or the concept that in order to write a successful female character, you have to make them terrible and just like really, really hateful. It's like the best characters, the best female characters especially, are characters who are just like they bring hope and happiness and a smile to people. And it's like, oh, you can't do that. Why can't you do that? What about, why can't you do that?
What's that one girl's name? Eris? From Final Fantasy VII, the chick that everyone was like fawning over, the one with the bow in her hair.
I can't remember her name.
Everyone liked her, not because she was gooner bait. She was actually dressed very modestly.
Oh yeah, no, she's a very modest girl. She's a very nice girl.
She's very nice. She's kind. She gives things to people, not expecting anything in return. She was just a nice person. That's why everyone loved her and were upset because of some events that happened. But there's a reason why people like put her on her pedestal, was because she's a good person. And there's strength in that. And for some reason, people think just because you're nice, it's a weakness. That's not true. Like the people who think that that being nice is a weakness are the weak ones. Like I never understood that. Like that. But don't. I'm gonna get into a tangent about morality. But let's. But what I'm trying to say is that you can write good characters. They don't have to be strong. They don't have to have much of a talent in something. They don't have to be mean. They don't have to have an attitude. They don't have to have like a deep, sad backstory. You can just make a compelling character who has some flaws. Not that the flaws make their whole personality, modern day writers. Like, you, like, you, I, let's just admit that the writers in in the gaming industry don't have talent. They don't know how to write. They just write fan fiction and then they just pass it off as good writing. And that in itself is offensive because I've read some really good fan fiction that spoiled me on good writing. I hope you guys know that. I've read so many good fan fiction that normal novels irritate me because they're not as good as people who write fan fiction. And that's saying something. I'm just saying. But yeah, it just feels like poorly written fan fiction in gaming. And then they just like push it out as like actually, oh my god, it's so compelling. And it's like, no, it's not. It's something that you would be interested in reading and something you'd be interested in playing, but mostly everybody is not interested in that. Do you know how many views like people read a fan fiction? The most you can expect for this kind of writing is like 1,000. 1,000 people looked at your writing. That's how I'd rate it. If we're going about the fan fiction route. The way that I'd rate it is that you'd only, maybe the most you get is 1,000. Do you know what the highest views a fan fiction can get? Probably 50,000, I think. Or is it in the 100,000s? I can't remember.
I mean, the sky's the limit with certain fan fiction. Like, I mean, you gotta remember that a certain series that is in different shades of gray had at one point pre-release, so when it was still fan fiction, had over, I think it was like 2 million readers.
2 million? Jeez. Good
Yeah,
lord.
well, I mean,
That wasn't
that's why I
even
got
that wasn't even good writing.
tracked.
That wasn't even
Yeah.
good writing. Have you even read? Oh, well, I wouldn't expect you to read it. But I was like, if anyone who's actually read that, it is so bad.
I listened to this guy. I used to watch his channel a lot. What was it? Alex Reads Twilight or something like
Oh
that.
god.
And he read some of that particular series, and it was pretty funny. Jeez, I wonder what happened to him. I haven't seen his content for years. But yeah, that's the
Like,
again. I don't want to be overly cruel and say like, stupidity or whatever. But I mean,
it's just bad writing. And so, look,
yeah, it's the silliness of it for sure.
it's just, it feels like they don't know how to write. They don't know how to make dialogue, interesting dialogue. They don't know how to make an interesting, compelling character. You can learn. You can learn to figure this stuff out. That's why it feels like they don't have the talent. They don't have the knowledge to know how to write. And then you have like these female characters that come out and they're like, oh yeah, I totally know how to make a good female character. These are female characters that I want to see. And they have no prior writing experience, and if they did, it's probably very minimal. And they just write insert characters. They just write OC characters that they want to see fight back against the patriarchy. And it's like, it's just like, that's not everyone is going to want to hop aboard your feminist power fantasy, all right? Just like you don't want to hop aboard a male power fantasy, no one wants to hop on board of your female feminist power fantasy, all right?
Yeah, whenever you go to an extreme, like it's just not, it's genuinely not good. It's not healthy for your product. It's not healthy for your overall like storytelling. It's like avoid avoid as much as you can. Avoid the
And
extremes because the extremes are where the unhealthiness
and
lies.
it even goes to show that women don't even support these views anyways, because
Yeah,
you can tell by the
you're not going to
numbers.
sell. Yeah, you're not going to sell large quantities of some of this stuff. Like you're just not going to. And it's always just weirded me out in so many ways where it's like you're not making a lot of money with this. Like you're not going to sell well. You're not going to like push content that's interesting and groundbreaking, following this kind of stuff. And I mean, let's look at, let's not look at it. Let's briefly mention it and then not really think about it. Um, excuse me. Um, but the idea or the concept behind the Shades of Grey
Oh.
book series, that is the first one,
You know,
which is
if you
what built the fame, right?
you know
Is
if
not a feminist icon
no.
in the slightest.
No.
In the slightest is not that.
Heck no. No.
So so that's where you have to like really kind of step
She
back
was
and say,
standing in
okay,
her
what
power, guys. She was standing in her power, guys. Sorry, I'm
uh,
just remembering some of the scenes. Oh yeah, she was definitely standing in her power while she was getting humiliated. Sorry, sorry. Okay, sorry. Okay, sorry.
we're gonna be in so much trouble. Ash is gonna yell at us so
Okay,
much.
sorry. Dude,
But I mean,
I want to
yeah,
say the writing was so bad in that, like,
mhm.
if you the writing was so bad that when I found out it was based off of fan fiction, I was like, yeah, that tracks. Yeah, that tracks. Yeah, that makes
Yep,
sense.
yep,
It was
yep,
a
yep,
fan
yep,
fiction
yep.
before this. Yeah, that makes sense. They just changed the names. Yeah, I believe that. Yeah, dude, there was a okay. I'm not gonna go into like spicy detail, but there was one scene in Shades of Grey where like everyone, including the female lead, saw that the love interest helicopter crashed into the mountainside, and everyone was like, "Oh my god!" And then literally the next page, he walks into the room, and then they forget about it. It's like, excuse me. I'm like, what was
Bad
the what?
writing. It's
I was
so
like, what?
bad.
I was like, what was the point of that? What was the point of that? We weren't gonna have like a couple of chapters of us speculating if he actually, picked the bucket or not. Was it a assassination attempt? Was it just a malfunction? Like what was happening? No, literally shock value. The next page,
It was
no
well,
payoff.
the thing that really made it gross was that it was shock value for the trailer. That was it. It wasn't shock value for the point of storytelling. It was literally just shock value for the actual literal story that they were pushing.
Yeah,
Sorry, trailer that they were pushing because they wanted to get people into the theaters to see, and they teased that shot, and
for
then it was a big
Valentine's
nothing
Day.
burger. Yeah, for Valentine's Day.
And then if you actually read the, not that I'm
Mm.
assuming you guys read the books, but if you read the books, like the ending wasn't a fun ending. The ending was not a fun ending. And then I was actually shocked that they made a movie based off of this. And I was like, oh God. Like, yeah. It's just, if we're talking, how did we even get here? But anyways, like, look, poor writing exists
Mhm.
in media. It exists in books. It exists in movies. Very prevalent in movies nowadays, and it's very prevalent in gaming. Look, it's just what people consider a female icon isn't the same as what others consider a female icon. Like like I would say Eve from Stellar Blade is a good female icon. She's strong, she's beautiful, she's gorgeous, she kicks butt while looking perfect. Like her hair is immaculate, it is gorgeous. And it's like, did you know that women actually prefer to play sexualized females? Did you know females actually like to play pretty ladies in video games? that's such
What?
a
No,
shocker.
that's ridiculous. They don't want to. They don't. That's okay. I'm not gonna pull that
It's
for.
just it's just like I'm just glad that it seems like there might be a turnaround. I don't know. Right now it feels like the same stuff is coming out, but we need to remember that this stuff was in years in production, so we're going to still see some anything made around 2019 to 2022 to 2023, anything in development around there, we're going to still see it
Yeah,
come out. We're not done,
I think. Yeah,
but
I think it's gonna take about 4 years for this to catch up.
oh
Um,
god.
and I mean, it depends on what happens in the next 4 years. It really does.
Yeah.
Like we could see the games industry
I
move
don't know,
in a
like
thousand different directions that are all very, 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 very,
I
very
mean,
bad.
Mass Effect said that they were removing anything that was would be considered controversial. Mass Effect 5. I don't know if that's true, but they said they're
I
going to try to
I
remove it.
I really doubt that. Genuinely, I don't believe them. Like, I just genuinely don't believe them, because they're saying that to kind of like buy time, because they know which way the wind is blowing now.
Mm.
Like you don't need to be the Cheshire Cat to know which way the weather vane is pointing. It's This has been a while coming, and again, um, not that I'm disconnected or even uncaring of or unsympathetic to certain like people's plights. Like, I really do get a lot of these plights. I really do. Like, I look at this situation of, stuff that we've talked about a lot lately, and it's like, yeah, no, I understand why people want their thing. I understand why people want to tell their stories, and I can respect their desire
I mean,
to tell those
you
stories.
can tell those stories but not make it such a power fantasy. Do you know what I mean? Like there's a difference.
Yeah, there's a huge control factor, right? Where
Yeah.
people are like, no, 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 I must control the narrative. It's like, no, you really don't, because that's not healthy. That's not gonna make you feel better. That's not gonna help you, deal with your past trauma and stuff like that. That's going to create bitterness in you if you continue to like just force it down this way. You gotta know when to let go, and that's something that I say, obviously with pained experience. It's like you have to know when to let go,
Yeah.
but that doesn't mean that you let go of your identity. No, 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 no. I'm not saying that. I'm just saying you can let go of like certain things, and in this regard, it's like wanting to completely rebrand and destroy games as we know, which we hear so commonly from these developers. So commonly from these developers, we hear this story. And the story is that they want to smash the gaming industry
Uh,
as it is. They
sorry.
want to.
I need to go to. I need to take a little restroom break real quick. I
Oh,
drank too
okay.
much tea.
Go
I'll
ahead.
be right
All
back.
right. Yeah, yeah, yeah. So you have this idea that a lot of these developers have said, and I do not agree with this. This is psychopathism at its finest. Is the fact that they want to deny and destroy the gaming industry and the fans of gaming, the people who play games. They want to destroy this because they want to cast it down into the fire and rebuild a new altar in its place. And that's not good, because video gaming is not inherently evil. Anything that you do that restructures your ability to find balance is not good, but just because you can't find balance with it doesn't mean that it's inherently evil. Donuts are not inherently evil. A starving man definitely wants a donut, and it's not going to kill him. Somebody who doesn't know how to control themselves and has 24 donuts a day on top of 2,000 calories worth of slushies, that person has a problem, and that is not a healthy thing for them. But that doesn't mean that it's unhealthy for everybody else. It doesn't mean that you have to stomp in and destroy every donut stand in the world. That's not how that works. That's not how healthy people deal with with their issues, with all kinds of stuff. And the same is said for video gaming. Yes, you might absolutely loathe and hate the way that some video game franchises are, or some ways that characters are portrayed. But you have to understand, you have to remember that they're not these aren't these are not these are not video games. These are not characters that exist in real life. There's an air of fantasy. And if everything has to be moderated to your current morality, that's you don't want that, because if you're moderating everything to your current morality, that means that at some other point in history, somebody else will have the ability to moderate what you have created to their morality, or you go to war. And that's just not a good experience. It's not a good experience for everybody. That's why freedom of speech, freedom of expression, freedom of artistic art is really important, because yeah, sure, you might be able to call the shots today, but you're not going to be able to call the shots 20 years from now. You might not even call the shots next year. And so if you're falling for that trap of like, oh yes, I'm going to jump in here and I'm going to control this, I'm going to control that, I'm going to remove people that I don't like. It's like, okay, are they doing something that is inherently like evil? Are they lining up people and lining up on the wall and pulling the proverbial trigger? Sorry, not the proverbial trigger, the literal trigger in this case, in this example, not case. Are they doing that? If the answer to that is no, then you're not fighting something that needs to be destroyed. You're fighting something that you can debate, that you can bring reasonable argument to, that you can have a conversation about, and that you can make that feel an extra emphasis of honesty and passion, and like get somewhere with the conversation. That's what you can do. Or you can try and stomp it into the ground, which will just make a lot of enemies, make a lot of people very angry with you, and you'll be back to like going to war on stuff. I'm still not recovered from being sick, so I'm being rambly, and Reaver's not here, so yeah, I know I'm being rambly, but still, that's the process. That's the point. That's the thing. It's like you have to remember that we are not sitting here um, demanding something, demanding a change. We're saying go back to what people want. And what do people want? Well, they want attractive characters, and they want good gameplay. And in many of the games that we've covered today that have been canceled, or that we've had discussions about, you don't have those things. Like you genuinely don't have those things in those games. Not from what the mass majority of people say. And it's not that you need that. It's not that you need that bait, that I forgot the term already. It's not that you need the bait. It's that you need to have the wherewithal to like have that in the experience and in the game, and have that kind of stuff there and available for like people on some level. And clearly what we've seen is not on some level. Clearly what we've seen is on a level of insanity and stupidity, where people are like, no, I insist that we get exactly what I want, period, or we go to war. And it's like, that's not, you're not gonna, like, you catch more flies with honey and less with vinegar, obviously. But that's not really the thing. That's an argument that we're having, obviously, but it's not the thing that should be the primary focus of, like, if you're wanting to change things, if you're wanting to change things for the better, if you're wanting to try and bring in like alternate points of view. It's like you can approach that conversation respectfully. And what we have is we have a lot of disrespect when people are talking about those issues, because the original concept, the original idea was that people brought in was inherently, I would say, was very much inherently um, combative to an unnecessary point. And that unnecessary point has caused a lot of consternation, obviously, within the industry. And again, that sucks, because there are legitimate grievances that people have, and you want to respect that. But because we're moving in this direction of like consuming all reasonableness, because there were people who did that first, and then everybody's like, well, okay, I'm gonna get my pound of flesh, and everybody's going at it that hard. Everybody's going, oh yeah, no, we're all here for a pound of flesh. It's like, yeah, we're we're not going to get anywhere healthy with that mentality. So
Yeah.
yeah, I gave my whole spiel on censoring content and freedom of speech and that kind
Oh,
of stuff. And
I was
it's it's like you have to play. It's a tightrope, and you constantly have to rebalance. It's not something that you can just say, all right, everybody left of this line needs to burn, or everybody right of this line needs to burn. It's like, no, you need to be able to maneuver,
yeah.
and not everything is the same,
Not
and there are
everything's
some practice.
not
Yeah,
everything's
that's
black
it.
and white. Black and
Yeah,
white. Like there
yeah.
is gray. They just seem to forget that.
Yeah, and a lot of people honestly do forget that, and that is very disturbing, to be honest.
Dude, that's why
It's
literally this is also a debate in the romance community where it comes to like writing morally gray characters.
yeah,
And like you're not supposed to like it, and like people talk about how like cuz I've seen it in a lot of fiction writing where they're like, "Oh, this you have to constantly talk your feelings out. We have to be on the same page and stuff like that." And I was like, "Yeah, you can do that especially in real life. That's like an important thing. But when you're reading a story, you want to be intrigued. You want that interest that grabs your attention. It doesn't have to be healthy all the time. Let's be honest here. It doesn't have to be healthy all the time. There's going to be conflict. There's going to be words said that rub the other person the wrong way. There's going to be irritation. There's going to be misunderstandings, because that happens when you're introducing one person and introducing a new person into their life. You have to find that you need to find common ground so that you guys can
mhm,
work together. And people seem to forget that. They're like, no, you have to be
yeah,
nice all the time. You have to communicate your feelings. You have to do all this stuff. And yes, that is important. But you have to understand not everyone is going to be like you. Not everyone's going
yeah.
to act the same way as you are. No one's going to have the same thought process as you. Everyone has different experiences. And they seem to forget
And
that.
yeah, in the pendulum, you don't want a pendulum swing shift, because when you actively stump for a pendulum shift, so you're going back and forth, back and forth, back and forth, and it's going from one extreme to the other, to the other, to the other, and it's getting worse and worse and worse every single time anything happens. It's like you don't want that experience. Like you genuinely do not want that experience in life, because you will 100% live to regret it.
Yeah.
Um, because like right now, if we pendulum swing hard to hard the other direction from where we currently are with triple A mainstream gaming, we're gonna have games come around in like 4 years that you can't show to children because they're just going to be
Uh,
way too graphic, right?
yeah.
Everything's going to be at an extreme,
Remember
and
you remember the trailer
we don't
for
want that.
Dragon Age Origins? You remember
Hmm.
the trailer? It was just like metal music, blood, monsters, smexy
Yeah,
ladies. Like that was like early 2000s. I wait,
right.
when did
And
it come out?
so the pendulum swing theory is like, it's like if it really is going to extremes either side, it's like just wait a few years and we're going to have like, it's going to be subverse. Every game is going to be some version of subverse. And like we've interviewed the subverse devs, we interviewed them. um we did not go out and encourage people to go out and buy a game that focuses around sandwich making.
Uh,
That wasn't the point of the conversation. The point of the conversation was about censorship and what happens when everything is pushed too far. And that's really what the studio had to say, and it was really cool in the way that they communicated about that,
don't
because
get me started on the Japanese censorship and what they had to do to
oh
push
yeah,
back
well, I
against it.
mean, right, and the Japanese censorship is that like that's legendary in the foolishness that happened there, because they're like, oh yeah, hey guys, by the way, you know, we're gonna censor this totally, and we're gonna bring down the absolute hammer on this, and nobody's gonna have any fun at all, period.
And then that's
And then
how
they
they.
brought that out.
I was gonna
They
say,
brought that out, and that's how you invented people working around the censors, following the letter of the law,
you
you know,
remember
and they worked around the censors, and then they created a whole genre. And
of
I
tentacles.
love that, yeah, of tentacles. And I love the meme. Do you know the meme where it's like the guy's like, he picks up a piece of paper, he looks at it, and he's like, "Oh my goodness, this is absolutely atrocious. This is disgusting." He stares at it for a second, and he goes, swears, and he goes, "Ah, blankety blank, I'm into it."
Yeah, yeah, I remember that meme.
It really is a perfect meme for the point, because you're like, okay, yeah, that's what's happening when you know, try to like overly
Hey,
control
I
something.
hey, I even made a joke about Nosferatu at this beginning of this
Yeah,
live
yeah,
stream, but yeah,
I got it.
was I joking?
So
You never know.
so well, that's the thing, right? Because we don't like, and that's the whole thing. It's like we have these issues that we need to address at some point. I don't want anybody to feel like their world is coming to an end, you know. And it's like we're not doing this to hurt you. We're doing this, like, this is now happening. Honestly, this is happening now because um, people pushed way too hard in one direction, and now you have this, like, you have this flipping that's happening, and that's sad for a lot of people. A lot of people are really angry about that. Um, but what we're trying to tell you is we're trying to say, look, we're not trying to, like like you should have slowed down ahead of time. Now I don't know where we're gonna end up. So
Well,
I don't think it'll be that bad, because in American politics right now, people were expecting a really wide like pendulum swing. And so far, like,
you do
there's
realize,
people, of course there's people who screaming about the, you know, the sky is falling, the sky is falling.
yeah,
But at the same time, it's like you don't actually have the level of sheer panic that some people were like
yeah,
insisting was going to happen, right?
yeah.
Like,
I saw a Reddit post, and one person's like, as a person of this identification of another identification, I am so scared to be in the U.S. right now, and I'm like, okay, let's just calm down. Let's just calm down. Let's calm the f down right now, because you guys are like overthinking this. It's going to be fine. Just drink your hot tea. All right, it's going to be fine. Just calm down. It's not that bad. They're making it seem more worse than it actually is. It is really not. It's really not, guys. It's really not. Newsflash, it's really not. But
yeah,
in fact, it has gotten worse before this year started. It was actually worse before this year started for 4 years.
yeah.
Now someone's actually doing something about it, and you're mad. Get out. Get out of here. What are you talking about? Just drink your hot tea, go to Starbucks, calm down. The one thing I'm annoyed. Well, sorry, maybe we shouldn't be getting into topics like this. I was gonna
I,
delve deeper into it, but
no, 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 no. We'll leave it at that. Basically, it's like, look, we're like, we personally are calling for calm. Like, you know, calm down, everybody. Let's not panic here. Um, there's definitely going to be a comeuppance for, and I can't believe I have to say this. Like, a lot of people are going to say, you guys hate these developers who are trying to make inclusive games. No, if that's what you think that we've been talking about for the last coming up on 3 hours and a half, that's not what that's not our primary complaint. Our primary complaint is giant megacorp publishers who are making horrendous mistakes and costing people their jobs because of stupidity. They're burning down entire IPs just for the sake of extra money. And that is the difficulty that we are talking about, that we're warning about, and that we need to fix as a whole, because this is insane.
Well, I can
and we
just
can't keep going like this.
I mean, I can delve into the background of like how them shilling for DEI content actually gets them
Yeah,
points
well,
from a large corporation in the
th-
background that
there
supports
is
this stuff,
that.
and then they
Yeah,
think
there
that
is
the
that,
money is
but
infinite. They think the
yeah,
money's infinite, but oh, turns out it's not infinite. Actually,
but
we actually need to sell products to customers in order to actually make a
yeah,
profit. That money
but
runs out.
EA has been doing this for a long time. They have an entire bank vault filled with IPs and dead companies that they've destroyed. Not
Yeah.
because they weren't making money, but because they weren't making enough money, and destroying them made the publisher more money than if they let them live. So
Well,
that's the problem. That's especially the problem that I have
good
right now. Is
lord.
like
How
this is disgusting.
I'm surprised they even made it this far. Good lord.
Yeah.
Talk about
And yes,
dumb.
so Kisuke, yeah, Rogue Trader is great.
Oh yeah, I love Rogue
Uh,
Trader. I need to get. I will really want to get back into it.
Kingsfield 2 has a better dragon boss, or has a better dragon
Oh,
boss fight.
keeping
I think so. I think I've seen that.
keeping in line
Um,
with the subject of censoring. Did you hear about that one dev that got mad and said that their game is not releasing for PC because they didn't want filthy modders making making disgusting mods with their beautiful protagonist, female protagonist. Oh,
Rule 34, my friend.
and
Rule
then
34.
yeah, and then only to find out that the in-game trailer or the trailer that took place in game was for PC, was like a
Yeah.
PC was a PC port, and I'm like, are you kidding me right now? Like it was apparently it's gonna be only for PlayStation, but I forgot the name of the game. It's like something Mirror or whatever, like Black Mirror.
I
I don't know.
yeah, I heard about the developer throwing a hissy fit about mods, and they're not the only one who's done that recently. And there's been, and again, this is a giant
Oh yeah,
push.
it doesn't like Blizzard like they're trying to lock their models down so that you can't make
Yeah, Blizzard's been trying to do that forever, and
for Overwatch.
it's a
I'm talking
lose
about Overwatch. I don't know who
it's a
makes
lose
Overwatch.
it's a losing battle. It really is. There's crazy mods for Marvel right now. I didn't even know there were mods for Marvel until
Oh yeah,
somebody linked it in chat. And then there's mods for all the Genshin games. I didn't know that. I had no idea that
I
there were
didn't know.
mods for Genshin games.
Yeah, neither did
For
I.
the Honkai games, not for
Oh,
Genshin in particular. I think it's more about like ZZZ now. Is
oh,
that what it's called? Zenless, yeah, Zenless Zone Zero. It's mostly for that right now.
makes
Anyways, I
sense.
need to go to the bathroom, so
Oh,
I think
understandable.
we should probably
Okay,
finish wrap it unless there's more
AC.
stories that you wanted to cover.
No, just wanted to say AC. AC Shadows. They came out with demos and people are coming out with reviews. I've actually heard some positive things, but then Asmongold released footage by Young Yeah of
Yeah.
actual gameplay from AC Shadows. It looks terrible. The gameplay looks terrible. The fighting specifically. The graphics look slightly potato, but people are acting like it's actually good graphics. It actually looks bad to me.
Hmm.
I've seen better graphics in The Witcher 3. And yeah, that's where we're at. It looks bad. The story could be good. I'm not holding out hope that it is, but it could be good.
No, I think the story will be garbage. Honestly,
But
it's not what people want or need.
yeah, yeah, that's pretty much it. That's pretty much it. But yeah, we'll just have to wait and see if AC Shadows is gonna flop. Take your bets now. Do you think it's gonna flop? I think so. Well, I guess that's it for tonight. I stream on Twitch every. I've been trying to stream on Twitch during the weekday, but it's not been working out for me. So I stream Friday and Saturday on Twitch. You can find my info down below. You can follow me on Twit. Sorry, you can follow me on Twitter. Gosh, I keep getting Twitch and Twitter mixed up. You can follow me on Twitter to keep up to date with my schedule. Uh, is there anything
We
else?
gotta
Oh,
we got we gotta play some co-op games at some point.
oh yeah, we should
We
definitely do that. Heck yeah,
Yeah,
that'd be fun.
we should do some. I'm trying to scratch my head. I'm like, immediately I'm like Baldur's Gate 3. It's like, yeah, but that's been done to death. I don't know, but it would be a lot of fun. I mean, would be interesting.
Yeah,
Maybe.
I need to get back into
Um,
Baldur's Gate 3 and I need to do like a Dark Urge playthrough. I need to do
yeah,
that.
the patch is coming out soon. So like sometime in the near future. So I'm excited for that, and there are a handful of other games that are coming out. It's there's not a lot of them, but there's some coming out. Are you going to be jumping into Monster Hunter Wilds?
No, personally, I'm not really interested in Monster Hunter, but
Okay.
it maybe if I play with
I
friends, it might
wasn't
be
sure. It
maybe
is
if I play
more
with friends.
it is definitely a game that's geared for playing with friends.
Okay.
It really is. And then are you into Civ at all? I forgot to ask that.
Civilization?
Civ, yeah, Civilization, because it's
Ooh.
coming out in a few weeks. I think it's like 2.5 weeks. It'll be out, and I'm I am worried about the game, like very worried about the game. Um, but I've been playing Civ games for my like it was one of the first games I started playing way back on DOS.
I'm
So
not.
we'll see how that goes.
I think I played Age of Empires when I was younger. I think
Yeah,
I think it was Age of
not
Empires.
not a Civ game.
Uh,
Like sort of, it's an RTS, but it's definitely not Civ.
well, that's as much as my experience is with Civilization building games, but I mean, I'm not. It's not a real interest of mine. I like RPGs and stories and stuff, and learning about lore in game stories.
Hmm.
I think I said that right. I think I said that right. I feel like I'm just rambling now, but yeah, I don't know. That's something we could play together.
Yeah, so like we'll see. Hopefully, there are more good games coming out this year because I mean, it really doesn't seem to be a lot of them that are good, honestly, right now. And then it comes down to like timing because it's been so crazy busy, but and it's gonna get worse. Oh, it's gonna get worse.
Oh
But
yeah.
anyways, we are going to be doing. I will be doing some content around the new Civ game when it drops. I don't know how much, but we'll see. I'll at least be doing a review. Um, I don't know if I'm gonna like all the changes that they've done, but we'll see.
All right. Thank you guys for staying with us for this long. We appreciate you guys. Yeah, we should be able to stream again next Sunday at 4 p.m. CST, and I think 3 p.m. your time in Canada. I don't know. I was gonna go into a spiel about like Green Mountain Time, and I was like, I don't understand that. But then, never mind. I'm not gonna go into that. But yeah, yeah. I hope you see you guys there. Hope you have a good day and night wherever you're at, and we'll see you guys